Yes, people, welcome back to GNA TV for this match reaction to the game against Chelsea and Newcastle 3-2. It is a late one, guys. We are going to be slowly working on doing more shows on this channel, bringing to you the panel as well. Yeah, lots to talk about in regards to that performance. We get the win just about, but evidently we get the win, and that's the most important thing right now. So happy with the performance, happy with the win. But yeah, guys, do me a favor, keep tapping the screen, share it out. We've got match reaction, we've got the panel coming as well. We've got discussions about specific players. We've got a lot of everything really going on today. We are going to be doing a player rating as well, lots to get into. But I need you to share it out, guys. Tap the screens, share it out, hit the like buttons, guys. Let's run this channel up. Run this channel back up again, guys, if we can. And let's cue that intro. People, welcome back to GNA TV. Hope you guys are well for a match reaction to the game against Newcastle 3-2 on the night. Big up to everyone that's slowly coming in as well. RD, Leo, M3, good to see you all. Hope you're well, guys. Thank you for being here as well. We are going to be discussing the game that we have just watched, what we've just witnessed, guys. What we've just witnessed, and we have got the panel to join us as well to break everything down in regards to that. Chelsea 3-2 on the night. Big up Daniel, big up Jay Anderson. Welcome in, guys. Good to see you all on the night. And let's just say a typical Chelsea performance, right? Never straightforward, made very hard. Yeah, all right, we've won the game. Still, you can see still issues in defence. In my opinion, defensively, we weren't as great today. We're going to highlight some of the goals that we conceded as well and break down them and talk about that as well. So yeah, lots and lots to get into. But where does it leave Chelsea currently in the Premier League table at the moment? Well, this is the big one. We are currently still sitting in 11th. Even after that game, we are still sitting in 11th with 39 points. However, no, is that correct? Is that an updated one? Yeah. That is correct. That is correct. Is that correct, guys? Yeah, we got a game in hand, right? Am I right in saying that? So we are in with a game in hand at the moment, but we're on 39 points as we speak. If we win our game in hand, look at the jump. Look at the jump from Newcastle, Wolves to Brighton. We would be on this level points with Brighton, who are in 8th. And look, Chelsea will already be in European football in the back of winning just their game in hand. And you got to say, there's still a lot to play for. But even when you look from where Chelsea are to where Man United are in 6th, you can't really say that they've run away with it. Once we get this, hopefully, who is our game in hand? Does anyone know? Does anyone know who our game in hand is? Daniel, Arsenal fans can shut Cole Palmer is better than Havertz. Does anyone know who our game in hand is? That would be a good question to know. Let's have a look. We now have Arsenal. Actually, Arsenal's been postponed. So that was the next game. So the next game we have now after this, guys, is Sunday. And we are up against Leicester in the quarterfinals, which is why the Arsenal game has been postponed. But the next game in all of this is against Burnley and then Manchester United and then Sheffield United. And then I'm assuming we have to fit that Arsenal game in somewhere as well. So does that now become our game in hand? It's not an easy one. Arsenal away is not something that is an easy game for for Chelsea to go and win. But don't get me wrong. We could have a big impact on who wins the league still as well. And that's a massive thing for us. And on top of that, we could still find ourselves in European football. We've got, 10 games left now? We've got 10 or 11 games left to play. And we're already in what I would say, a half decent position. Like I said, one more win with our game in hand puts us in 8th. And then we're only 3 or 4 points away from Man United in 6th. So that goes to show that there is a lot still that can happen. Whether or not we can do it is a different story. Don't get me wrong. I do think that there's going to be the way that we have been going this season, the lack of inconsistency in our performances. I think it's going to be very hard to get ourselves back up to where we want to be. Oh, let's go back where we want to be. But in terms of Chelsea getting into Europe, I keep saying it. I think the pressure is on Pochettino to get this football club into some sort of European football. They would have wanted the Champions League, but we obviously know the jump from Champions League is ridiculous. Even when we win, we'd still be 11 points behind if we won our game in hand. However, getting to 7th and potentially getting to 6th, I'm not saying we're going to do it. If we could put on a good run of form somehow, could see us slowly creeping up, start winning games. They start losing games. Who knows? Who knows what could happen? I really hope Chelsea ruins Arsenal's title races. I hope. I think we all do, right? I think we all do. All right, let's talk about the game, guys, because it was an interesting game, right? And I want us to talk about specific players before we go into the player rating. And I want to start with this guy because he has been nothing but short immense at the moment, and it's Cole Palmer. We will delve into the game a bit more once the panel arrive as well. We'll go through and discuss the game in itself in a bit. But when you would talk about a performance and someone stepping up, well, I've got some stats for you here in Cole Palmer. 19 goal assists in the Premier League with 28. Yeah, 19 goal assists in the Prem, 26 goal assists this season. Another game carried by Cole Palmer. He's a dynamite. And, he is becoming heavily relied upon, even to the point where he doesn't score in games, we lose him. And he's just everything about him. All with his style of play, his movement, the way he carries the ball up the pitch, his vision, him finding himself in pockets. The little cheeky flicks inside and around players and playing balls in between legs and trying to play people through. He is got to be, for what we bought him for and what the expectation was for him as a player to what he's doing now. He's got to be, for me, he's got to be the best player of the season, especially from our standpoint, just purely because of no one expected this. No one expected him to do this. Everyone was very unsure about what he could bring and what he could perform and what he could do. And it really goes to show. And when you look at some of his stats as well, and you look at this one, for example, Cole Palmer, you are special in a goal and assist in the same Premier League game this season. He has done it in 5 games. That goes to show how important and influential this guy is to this team at the moment. A team that's really not firing, under the water, just struggling to find any consistency in themselves. Cole Palmer is stepping up, guys. Cole Palmer is definitely stepping up. What a stat. Son's on there. Watkins is on there. Salah's on there. Haaland's on there. Some big names. There's some big names of some very big people, people that are, touted as one of the best in the Premier League. And this guy's coming to Chelsea in what seems to be one of our worst seasons and is performing at the level that he is as well. And it just goes to show how well he's playing. Another little bit of cheeky news for you on Cole Palmer. Cole Palmer has been directly involved in 40% of Chelsea's goals this season. This is Eden Hazard levels of carrying. And it does feel like that slightly, don't get me wrong, because he has been our go-to man. Let's be serious. He has been our go-to man, the one that stepped up. We talk about the finals and other games where we needed him to maybe step up and get it across the line. We didn't. But when you look at the overall accumulation of games that he's played and the percentage there of games that he's actually dominated as well, it's definitely an impressive. It's definitely an impressive stat from the man himself, Cole Palmer. Guys, what are your thoughts in the chat as well of tonight's game? Let us know. We want to know. Make sure you hit the like buttons as well, guys. We're trying to get these likes up so that we can start filtering ourselves back onto YouTube. We used to have like 100 to 200 people on this channel. And obviously, I know I've not been on much, so I'm going to try and see if we can work on getting that back. But I need you guys to obviously help with this as well, guys. 25 people in the building. Cole Palmer got that winning mentality because he came from City. And that is a big truth. That's a truth, Daniel. That is a big W when you think of it like that. The guy's been built around players of class, of playing under a Pep as well was a massive thing as well. The systems to have the development of a player. When you look at how a development of a player like Palmer has come from City to how he's fitted into a club like ours, for how much we bought him, you can only say, wow. To be quite honest with you, you can only really say wow because it's been very, 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 very impressive. We then go on from Cole Palmer to someone that I feel like we need to have a little chat about as well. Mudryk. Now, this goal that he scored here, this goal right here, was a... I don't think Sterling does that. I don't think Sterling scores that type of goal. I think Cole Palmer maybe doesn't, but could, because I think Cole Palmer would have tried to dink the goalie. I think Mudryk doesn't do that. And I also think that, say even Jackson. I mean, Jackson probably as a striker here, he probably makes that run around him. But evidently, all I'm going to say is this Mudryk that we're seeing playing in the 10 role and the impact that he gave to the team, especially in the second half of coming on the pitch, was very impressive. And when you look at Raheem Sterling, Sterling's performances of recent, it's been very underwhelming. It looks like someone that's just not there with it at the moment. And, you know, Mudryk, the way he took the ball off Gallagher, give me the ball, you know, that goal reminded me of an Eden Hazard goal. I'm going to say it. That's what it reminded me of. Just running into, arriving into the box, taking the ball on, getting through the defence with his, with his technical tight skill, running around the goalie comfortably and tucking it in the back of the net. I've seen Eden Hazard do that so many times at Chelsea, and I'm not going to try to say he's the next up and coming Eden Hazard, but this goes to show development. This goes to show game time. This goes to show why he has to play more games. Now, Pochettino is maybe in many ways you've got to applaud him, but we'll see on the consistency of this. But to play Mudryk in the role of the 10 and notice that the role of the 10 is the role that he wants to play in. And the freedom that he gets from it, because he can venture from left, he can venture from right, he can tuck in and get behind the defenders as well, which he does very well. Like, he uses speed. And the big thing of playing 10 with him is that he is technically very good at receiving the ball. And the next part of his game is his best bit. He gets the ball, he plays it into Jackson, who's, again, his ability to hold the ball, drop in a bit, and then play a ball in behind into the space behind the defence is something that was pretty impressive. I hate Arsenal. Big up Ram in the building. Who don't, mate? Listen, I want you guys to win, and I keep saying it. You know where my heart is. I cannot deal with the fact of Arsenal winning the league. You know that. So I hope you do win it. So it was just a class goal. It really was a class goal, and I think his ability of being able to run behind and attack that space in behind with his speed. If you leave that space, I don't think many defenders or midfielders can keep up with it. And you saw Newcastle; they were getting leggy going into sort of the 60th, 70th minute of that game, and you could see every time he got the ball, they didn't really want to run with. And it was just a very class goal. It was just a very, very class goal. Gem and Ram working together might be all we need to win the league. Hey, listen, Ram. They've got City, which I'm hoping they'll do a job and you guys win. And then they've got us as well. They've got us after them. As much as I want us to win to see if we can force ourselves into a European position, if we can stop them from winning and allows you guys to win that week and you get another 3 points and they're 5 points behind you, I am all over it. Secretly. I am all over it, bro. Trust me. I am all over it. Big up to you. Guys, nearly 50 people in the chat. Good to see you all. Keep tapping the screens, guys. If you can, hit the likes. Share it out for me if you can as well, guys. I think so, bro. I think so. I'm not sure if you noticed, I've not really said much about it. But I think Chelsea seem to play quite well against the bigger teams. And like even against you guys, even though you beat us, barring the 4-1 where I thought we was very poor. The final, even though you didn't have your best team out, arguably when you played Man City as well, we had the same problem. Funny enough, we played really well, and you got to admit you had your best defense out. You actually had your best defense out, in theory, on paper. So interesting, but we'll see. I think we'll be able to give them a problem. Rather City won it, keeps Liverpool with one title in 30 years. I don't want them to win it because 4 in a row is just ridiculous. It's getting a bit boring. And wait, Cole Palmer is 4 goal assists off Mount's best season. I think he's beat Mount's best, didn't he, Chelsea FC? Has he not beaten it? Cole, I thought he'd beaten it, no? I thought that was one of the talk of the topics. And should he start Mudryk? He should. Mudryk be starting the next game? Why not? We've got a quarter-final against Leicester. Play him in the 10. But equally, I want to talk about something that Poch also did in this game today, which was something different. He played Conor Gallagher in the left-hand role. And there's a comment here that talks about it from Johan saying that Conor Gallagher, that he takes his hat off to Conor Gallagher today, moved to the left to stop Cucurella being 2-1, 2 versus 1 down, and his work rate shut down nearly everything down at Newcastle's right and was key to our defensive structure. I wouldn't say we had much defensive structure. I don't think we were defensively very good today, in my opinion. Pressing with energy in the last minutes too. Yeah, look, I think again, and this is what the one thing I always criticize Pochettino on, and why I'm still not 100% fond of him. But what he did today was look at the game, realize where the danger was, and act to it. And yes, he moved players out of their current roles into positions that are not comfortable with him. But he knew that Gallagher's energy off the ball and staying and getting up and down the pitch with Livramento was very important. Sterling wasn't doing it because he wanted to be more central, and we was actually a lot more better because offensively, him in the 10 is not good enough for Chelsea. He just isn't. And at home, when you're playing at home against Newcastle, you want someone that in the middle that can create it, and drive like what we saw earlier on. So I applaud what Poch done just on that instance, but it's not something that I think I would go forward with in most games. That means it just to fit Gallagher in. We could still play with an extra offensive player. No, like the Chelsea Anfield game was one off. I think you were caught out by Bradley. Bradley turned into Cafu that game. He did. He was really good that game. Gave us a lot of problems. I mean, Colwell's not really a left back, but still we move. Guys, nearly 50 people in the building. Keep tapping the screens. And look, he took one for the team. And to be quite honest with you, I thought Gallagher done okay today in terms of the instruction and what was required from him. But there was also a return for someone that we haven't seen in a while in Marc Cucurella, guys. Marc Cucurella back in the team today, playing for us as well. After a long, a long injury out. I thought he had a very good game, barring the last goal. But even with the last goal and him making that rash decision to try and cut in front and win the ball, because I think Murphy still had a lot to do after that. And I've got to say, take your hats off to Murphy. That was a rocket. I don't think any goalie's saving that with that power and that effort. He whacked that ball. He whacked it as hard as he could. And Cucurella came in today. He hasn't played in many games. He's again on the ropes with Chelsea fans in recent, but today he came back first game, and we look just better with natural fullbacks. Gusto again for me, very good, barring the goal, and we're going to get to the game in a second. We're going to talk about the game, barring the goal. So you could probably argue that both the fullbacks in this game kind of let us down, but were also, I think, majority of the game very good. So yeah, I'm not really confident with the Chalobah thing as well, and the Sassy, but we were limited with that. But yeah, it was a good return for him. I think you're gonna have to be careful with him. We haven't got Ben Chilwell as well, so it's one of them ones where I feel like we're just gonna have to be careful with him, because if we lose him as well, it could be an issue. Cole Palmer's also come out with a statement saying, I decided to leave City as I thought I was ready to play football week in, week out. That's the reason I come to Chelsea. I wanted to showcase my ability week in, week out. Like I said, thankfully it's paid off. Sky Sports have confirmed that comment as well. Sterling needs to be sold, is what McDamian said. His attitude and how he's playing. And like today, he ran through on goal. And if you just looked up again and saw Palmer next to him, Palmer would have had another goal today. But he was just so greedy with the ball. It was just a big letdown, really. Do you know what I mean? It was a big letdown from him again today. And I think he should be dropped and benched, and Mudryk should be playing. Mudryk should be playing. Palmer should be playing. Jackson, I thought, had a decent game. Just play like that. It's actively very good. It was a very good game. It was a good game to watch if you're a neutral. I just don't think the game itself was, again, a vintage Chelsea performance. I think it was another one of them performances where we saw the weaknesses in what we were doing. I'm still very confused with the style that we play under him, because it still doesn't really make sense to me. I don't know if Johan's got any. Let's have a look. Johan, if he has any images. I think I've got one actually in my WhatsApp. I've got one in my WhatsApp. Interesting one. He talks about this. I'm glad someone said something. If Sterling squares the ball in the first screenshot, it's too easy for Dubravka to close the ankle. But the time he gets to the next touch in the second picture, the Newcastle has blocked off the pass. Okay. So what he seems to think is trying to play that pass there into Cole Palmer would have allowed Dubravka to get across the pitch quicker anyway and cover maybe. Not to say that Palmer wouldn't have scored, but the second touch allowed the defender to get back and which closed off the angle, which you can see here for him as well. So it's a tough one, isn't it? It's one of them ones where it's hard to maybe determine whether he should have passed, he shouldn't have passed. But looking at that and what they've said there, evidently, I still feel that it's a hard one. When you're a striker and you're running through on goal like that, the first thing you want to do is try and put the ball back in the net. You know, especially someone like Raheem, whoever it is, Jackson, I would think would have done the same, in my opinion. It's just, I kind of get what he's saying here on the second image because the second image completely shuts off the pass. So, yeah, I think if he would have played it on his first touch, it would have been too early because he would have been able to check across. But with the second image, which is his second touch, the Newcastle defender closed off. He could have maybe still pinged it across like that. I still think he could have like pinned it like that and he could have just arrived in on it and just bomb. Still, I don't think it's still a good enough an excuse, but I can kind of see where he's going with it in terms of maybe visibility when he's running with the ball and stuff. But listen, we got forward in the building, first person in. How we doing, my boy?
I'm doing good, brother. I'm doing good. Good to be here. Obviously, big up you, big up everybody listening as well. Drop a like on the channel, on the video. Yeah, I'm doing good, man. Not every day Chelsea win a league game, so yeah,
Exactly.
gonna enjoy it while we can.
Exactly. Enjoy it where we can. And obviously, we're going to get into the game a lot more in a bit. But at the moment, we're just stuck and talking about this moment with Raheem Sterling. Initially, my first thoughts were, what were you doing? Why didn't you pass it? And he kind of cuts inside and, all right, he still creates the opening and they clear it off the line. But now you can see these two images forward. Do you still feel that Sterling should be looking up and playing that ball? Because the comment here basically says that if he plays it in the first image, it allows Dubravka to get across the pitch anyway, and maybe stop Cole Palmer from scoring. But with the second image, that was his second touch. He kind of gets shut off by the Newcastle defender, which means he can't make that pass. So that's why he's gone for goal or tried to go for goal at the end. But what's your thoughts on this incident?
I mean, first and foremost, I'm really not a big fan of a screenshot football. I think it's kind of a nasty culture that we see online where it's like, oh, let's screenshot this one moment, and that's like, oh my god, how do you not see this pass, right? Where it's like you need to really look at the whole video, the whole thing in full context, so you understand how much time they had, how fast the play was going, like how fast was he running, how fast was the defender trying to track him, and all these little things, right? So I did watch it back a second time because I saw it live and I thought that is quite poor from you, Sterling. I saw it back, and I think the biggest issue with Sterling, not just on this occasion, but in the other 1v2s that he's missed earlier in the season, is that he doesn't really get his head up to assess the situation. And he didn't do that on this occasion and actually see that there was an open man there, that if he does time it right, he can actually take a first touch and then quickly like set it so that the man running on can finish into an open net. He never got his head up, so he never really saw that as an option until it was too late. And I mean, in those situations for me, again, being on 300k a week and all these things, being the most experienced attacker that we have, you just got to take control of the situation and then be clinical. No matter what you do, you can even say that, oh, if you decided to turn back, take on the defender, the goalkeeper, the other two defenders coming back, and you still score, then it's the right decision because at the end of the day, it's all about putting the ball in the back of the net. And Sterling doesn't do that enough in situations like this. In a situation, he didn't make the wrong decision, but then even when he got the shot off, you can still do better and find the corner. Or just put it like hit it even harder so that the defender can't block it on the line. So it was poor, but it's the decision making that we've come to expect from Sterling and the lack of composure and the lack of clinical ability when it matters most. So it is what it is.
You look at that image, because again, I agree with you. It's very hard to judge the instant image at the time, but you look at that image and, you know, he should be making the pass. He should just look up.
He can't make the pass because he doesn't see the pass because he didn't get his head up. So that's why the pass isn't on.
Yeah, I get that. But again, for someone that's earning as much as he has and as experienced as he has, you'd think that he would lift it up to see that pass because he's made them passes for City. I don't get it. He's got into the positions numbers of times to set up.
But Jem, only one of us. But Jem, only one of us in this conversation right now wants him to stay next season. So and it's not me for those wondering. So It's interesting. It's interesting. Interesting.
I think at the moment it's very hard to defend someone when they're performing the way they are. I don't know, with him. I really don't. I know why a lot of Chelsea fans are switched off of him, and I fully understand it. And you've got to look at someone like Mudryk and he's performed. We'll get to Mudryk in a bit anyway, but because there's someone in here that actually is not a big fan of him as well, so we can have a discussion about that. But let's go to AJ. AJ!
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Big up.
What are you saying, bro? How are you?
What's up, Jim?
My
guy.
Chelsea,
Yes, big up, AJ. Big up.
A Chelsea W, which is a very rare thing for us in the Premier League. Game in hand as well. By the way, if we win our game in hand, we could potentially go up to 8th. By the way, just to give you a heads up.
8th? Wow.
Yeah. Looking at this screenshot for you, watching the game and whatever. What was your thoughts on this? Is it again a case of Sterling and we've seen it earlier in the season as well, where you had the same sort of moment, if you remember, and he completely I can't remember what game it was, but he just froze basically. And
Wolves away.
Yeah, Wolves away. Yeah. Do you think this is again just a lack of is it just Sterling? Is it just a lack of the fact that he just doesn't look up and he's just so focused at what's in front of him that he's not aware of what's around him?
This is definitely Sterling, at least definitely for Chelsea. But even before Chelsea, the thing about him is he's always been inconsistent, and then he always, he has a decision-making problem. That's what he's kind of known for. But at City, he still scored goals and helped with assists. So, that papers over the cracks. But in terms of this, again, like you said, we've seen this before, and Sterling is a experienced player. Like, the awareness should be at the highest level. In this situation, he has enough time to take a quick glance to see what's going on around him. I know the defender was kind of all over him. They kind of tussled and he came out on top of the tussle. But in that process, he should be noticing what's around him. He's just that experienced level type of player. So it's worrying, that even he's made that mistake before. And I think he was even dropped or, he got a lot of stick from the fans. And then he's in the situation again. And it's the same thing. So that shows me that, he's still not thinking, So this is Sterling. Like you said, this is what we get.
This is what we get. And do you feel that he should be dropped going into the next game against Leicester as well in the quarterfinals, or not?
When Mudryk came on, the game was already kind of stretched. We do see Mudryk from the start. It's not always the best. Again, when he started in the 10 last game, he did play decent, but I think that was against a lower level opposition. So, we are playing a lower level opposition. So, if he's dropped, I'm not really too stressed because when he's on the field, he's not giving us too much, He does score the crucial goal here and there, which does shoot him bail, But I don't know, man. It's just too hot and cold, bro. It's like you can't depend on it.
Yeah. No, I hear you. I want to, before we get into player ratings and talk about other good performances of us, I just want to quickly highlight the goals that we conceded. Talk about the first one. Now, we had this discussion in the group chat when it happened, and I said that I felt it was a number of players, lack of concentration, awareness, but also how we set up. I don't know if you saw the picture that I put in. I should try and find a picture actually that I put in, but also the way that we was playing, how deep we were playing from the back, which was just not helping us as well, and we weren't able to play out again. And when you look at Enzo, who was off the left trying to play that long ball, which in fairness, Enzo usually plays them balls 9 times out of 10 and it's perfect. It goes straight to player. A little bit overrun for Gusto, which he still receives. He then flicks it up, but instead of playing it forward, he tries to drag it backwards. And then that's when it invites pressure and Newcastle hunt him and win the ball. And then there was another mistake once we'd lost the ball, or Gusto had lost the ball, from Chalobah, who then completely lost his position. Yeah, ball gets found into Isak. And then, so no one said anything about the Sassy, but I'm going to be quite honest with you. I think his body positioning was shocking, to be quite honest with you, as a defender. And I just think it was a number of just issues. It wasn't just one real thing, barring the Gusto thing was like the highlight because he drags the ball back in. I get it. But when you look at how it all went from start to finish, it just felt like a complete mess. And it's something that continuously keeps happening at this club. We can't seem to just 1-0 up, Go and get the next one. Go and get the next one. We always have that lack of like concentration, or something stupid happens, and then all of a sudden we find ourselves in a situation. I mean, forward. When you look at that first goal from Newcastle, does that pretty much just sign off Chelsea's season in terms of the type of goals conceded this season?
Yeah, it's another individual or a catalogue of individual errors that just could have been easily avoided. Obviously, let's start with Enzo's clearance, which wasn't the best. He was under a bit of pressure, right? So like that wasn't great, but obviously a lot happens after that, which can be easily avoided. And the main part is obviously Gusto. And you see in that moment that he's a very inexperienced kid, because you see, even I've seen it a lot with him this season, right? Where this decision that he makes, and you're like, why would you do that? Like it's strange. But then I remind myself that, oh no, he's actually a kid and he's actually quite raw. It's just he's very, very good, that I actually have really high standards for him. But no, there's a lot of mistakes in his game, and a lot of times you're just like, you didn't need to do that. And again, he flicked up once, flicked up again. It was just bizarre to even attempt that in the middle of the pitch. Very bizarre. And obviously we were punished from that. Chalobah misreads sort of like the weight of the ball as he tries to head it. Poor header. And then obviously after that we're exposed, and Disasi's positioning wasn't the best. I mean, I can't really put much blame on him, because even if he defended it perfectly, Isak, the way he chopped onto his right, whipped it bottom corner, like there's nothing him or Petrovic could do about that, to be honest. So that was an amazing finish at that point. But yeah, just a poor reaction from the team in general, but obviously mainly Gusto and Chalobah. Just poor mistakes that have cost us a lot this season, where it's like it can be easily avoided, and we didn't avoid it on this occasion. But again, fortunately, we bailed ourselves out with the goals. But not a good sign is going into the Leicester game, because we don't want to be seeing any of those mistakes. We'll get back to Wembley.
I'm going to stick with you on this question as well. Is the defence a real issue for us now? Because it seems like and I know we've got injuries there. Colwell's not there, Badiashile, but it goes back to my big question about how we've defended all season. Is what we got good enough without Thiago Silva?
Is what we have good enough with Thiago Silva? That's another question. I know that's the question, but I'm asking a rhetorical question back, because I don't think it's amazing even with Thiago Silva. I think with Silva, you probably don't get some of those mistakes, but then you lose obviously that bit of added pace that Chalobah has, defending in the high line, defending transitions. Because you see that the team isn't comfortable when it's Thiago Silva, and we know that him alongside, whether it's Badiashile or Disasi, is not much pace at all. But of course, without his leadership, it is a bit more extra composure. You see someone like Chalobah, who has had good seasons here, like had decent seasons as a squad player, a homegrown squad player. But here you just see he's coming and he's extremely raw. He's looking like a teenager, based on the fact that some of the mistakes he's making, how poor he is in the air, like his inability to like sort of link up little things, like when Enzo tried to pass it back to him in the lead up to Almiron's shot in the second half, and then he just plays it straight into Caicedo, where it's like, no, you should recognize that's the time to open up your body and then switch it either out wide or just maybe even go back, like take some more time on the ball. And these things it's not a good sign at all. But the defense is an issue. The season started with the attack being the main issue, because we were actually quite good defensively last season, despite how bad it was. The start of the season, it was okay, but our record of recent has been awful, absolutely awful since the turn of the year. So it's a massive concern.
For you, AJ, as well, is it still a big worry for you going into the end of the season? I mean, we just can't seem to keep a clean sheet. We're still fumbling silly goals. I mean, even at the end, we haven't spoken. I asked you about the first, but also the second goal conceded. Again, Cucurella kind of just rashly out of position, tries to go for the ball and gets turned. And I know it's a great finish. Don't get me wrong, it was a great finish still. But what was your thoughts on both the goals?
The two goals just show, that it showed first a lot of the inexperience. Cucurella is kind of experienced, so it doesn't really count for him. But we do have these moments of madness with the defenders where it's just like, why didn't you just take the simple option of clearing the ball? Or like Ad said, playing it to somebody, a little bit wider instead of forcing the ball centrally. Again, we went to Disasi. The one thing that I had a problem with on that first goal is after all the play happened and Isak ends up with the ball, you're just backing up. He just keeps backing up into the box. And that's, if you look at our season, we've given up so many goals where our center back just keeps backing up. Sometimes it gets to a point where you have to step to the ball. So that's how Isak was able to take that shot and curl it around him. So, and then the second goal, obviously, Cucurella, there's no need for him to step and win that ball. The guy is receiving the ball, facing his own goal. He's not really in the most dangerous of areas. So it's just like just keep goal side of him, let him play the ball back, and then everybody reshuffle. Like it's just little shit like that we just keep making mistakes on, and then we get them goals because without that mistake from Cucurella, they're not creating anything from that moment. So
Yeah,
it's just these silly moments.
I hear you. We're going to get into player ratings because I want to fly through them and talk about some players individually in the game. At the end of that, we'll have a quick discussion about Pochettino as well today. We'll fly through this. We'll go through this. Petrovic. I think he was. I like Petrovic. I do. I feel more comfortable with him in goal than I do with Sanchez. Do I think the first goal he could have done better? No, not in my opinion. I think it was just a very well placed, good finish. And the second goal, he definitely could have done nothing about, in my opinion. That was just a missile in the top corner.
Yeah.
Where I think he still needs to improve, and it's the common thing that we keep talking about, is just you could tell he's not comfortable playing out. But this is where it goes back to Poch again, because he wants to play out. It doesn't matter how we get up the pitch. We've got to make sure that we have to start with the goalie and build patterns to try and break the press. That's what I see every time. Sometimes, like in the first half, he was going, just get up there, let me just oof it, and knocking him up the pitch, which I do like, because I think it works with Jackson, who can hold the ball quite well up there as well. But there's too many times where I just feel like we asked, and again, it's maybe the way that he wants to play and the way things have gone, that we ask him to maybe do a bit too much when we don't really need to. We could maybe go more the other way, in my opinion, and move the ball a bit quicker, if that makes sense, rather than we allow the pressure to come on. We pin ourselves back so far that Gusto's touching the corner flag, Cucurella's touching the blimmin' post, Enzo's in on the penalty spot, Caicedo's, and I'm sitting there and I'm just like, we're going to get cut. We're going to get cut every time. If we keep trying to play like, if this is what he wants to play like to get out, this is going to be a problem. Yep. We can't continuously keep trying to do that. Time after time after time.
Probability says you're going to make a mistake.
Yeah, probability says you're going to lose the ball eventually. And he isn't comfortable in it. He's even come out and said, "Look, I'm practicing my kicking the ball outs and trying to play good balls in." And you can see he tries, but I mean, forward. I mean, I thought he was okay, barring that, you can't blame him the 2 goals. Maybe his passing out wasn't the best, but overall, is there much to really say on Petrovic? And do you agree with what I'm saying with it?
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying. Obviously not the best playing out the back for sure. I think at times he was like trying to, and obviously making the lead up to our first goal, like he didn't just hoof it when he had the opportunity. We actually did look to play out, which led to a very good build up for the first goal. And obviously for the 2 goals that he conceded, not all I think he could do by the first one. And then the second one, like a goalkeeper really shouldn't concede from there. He did also get a touch to it, but I will give him like leeway on it, because it's a 1 in a million strike for Murphy, where it's like, cool, that is at 100 miles per hour and it's literally right in the top corner. So you can allow him on that one. And other than that, no, he didn't have to make too many other amazing saves. I mentioned the Almiron save earlier, in the second half. Earlier, I mentioned that. And yeah, other than that, not too many big saves he had to make. So I'll probably give him like a solid 6, I'd say, out of 10.
Okay. AJ, what's your thoughts on him? I mean, for me, he's better than Sanchez, but what's your thoughts on the goalie?
Again, when we talk about Petrovic, we always go to what he does with the ball at his feet. But I just think, when I think of goalies, how does he saving the ball? How does the defense react when he's around? And since Sanchez has been out, in terms of defensive mistakes like that, it's way less instantly. So right away, to me, that's already a better goalkeeper. Yes, his distribution is not the best, but again, he makes saves. He doesn't make too many mistakes, and he's something to work with. On top of that, he has height. We were dealing with Kepa, who had no height for like 5 years. We're just conceding banger after banger. Today we conceded a banger, but any goalie is basically giving up that's a rip. Like that's a great strike. But both strikes were actually great. They were placed well in the corner. So those are the type of goals that we can give up. You just give it to the attacker, but I think he's a good goalie. We're lucky to have something to work with. We don't have to go spend $75 million on a fucking goalie.
Yeah, I hear you. Malo Gusto, again, I thought he was very good today, barring that goal situation. But when it comes to standing up and winning balls, and do you know, there was sometimes in the game where he was on his own, he was 2 against 1, and he still won the ball somehow. His reading of the game for such a young player just impresses me each and every game. Yeah, he had that little moment where he made the wrong decision with the ball. But what I love about him is how nimble and quick he is with his feet when he carries the ball. He's very hard to get the ball off. His recovery speed is very good, and we talk about it all the time. Don't get me wrong, but he's starting to show some very good consistency in his performances. And I know Reece James is on his way back, and he's looking slim, and it looks like he's lost a bit of weight, and he's coming in, and we might have that. Fingers crossed, we might have that Reece James again, what we want, but we'll have to see. But I don't think it's a given that when he gets back that Gusto holds the bench straight away, in my opinion. I just think this guy is. I think he's quality. I really, really do. I think for the player of the signings that we have made under this new ownership, I really do think that he's up there in the top 3 by far, in my opinion, by far. I think he's that good, and he really, really is. Because he's only going to get better. He's young. He's as well. He's playing like this in his first season in the Premier League as well, and I can see him getting better, providing that he don't get injuries. Touch wood, and he can continue to keep himself, going. We could possibly have the 2 best right backs in the world. I'm not even joking. In the future, I really do. If we can get Reece James back to where we know Reece James can be as well, you've got a really good option on the right side. But he was good today for me. I mean, forward Gusto, what a baller.
Top performance, I'd say. Obviously, again, I think it's illustrates kind of where he is in his career, that you will see these mistakes because he's young, new to the league. So you kind of do forgive the mistakes because unlike others in the team, he makes up for it with his quality, and he's shown a lot of the quality throughout the season. Sure, some of it again today. Our right hand side with him and Palmer, the link up is it's fantastic, especially in terms of getting through the press. That's the side that we go to. That's our go-to side when it comes to playing through the press, because their link up and synergy, it's amazing. It's amazing to watch. It's fun to watch. It's actually good to watch on the eye as well as it being effective on the pitch. So it's good, man. I'll probably give him a 7, I'd say, and that's because I have to knock down some points for that goal, which is crazy. But other than that, no, solid. And again. The question with Reece James, right? Because you mentioned when Reece James is back, we could potentially have 2 of the best right backs. Or you said the 2 best right backs in the world. Potentially, I feel like certainly 2 of the best for sure. If Reece James returns to how he was, and if Gusto develops how he should, based on what we're seeing right now. Because what we're seeing right now, he can definitely round out his game and become more complete over the next year or 2. So there's certainly a lot of potential there. I think he can also play on the left hand side, which is something I'm looking for once Reece James is back. So it's good. It's looking good. This is one that I'm not going to say that we need to maybe be careful with or not give too much hype. No, I think he's the real deal, and I think he's going to become one of the best right backs in the world. The best right back, we'll wait and see on that, but certainly one of the best for sure.
AJ, do you agree?
Yeah, I mean, he said it all, really. I think Gusto's going to the top. I think he's very good defensively and he's very good offensively, and that normally takes you to the top. You understand? And then on top of that, he's dynamic. He reads the game extremely well. He has personality and character to him in his play. Even that mistake he made in the middle of the field for the goal shows the type of person that he is. The type of player he is. Yeah. He's confident. He's not scared. And that's the type of player that goes to the top. And you instantly see the difference of a top player compared to players who are just kind of floated in that mid area. So he's going to the top for me. So I fully agree.
Yeah, no, I hear you. We go away from Gusto. We jump on to Disasi. I don't really think he had much to do personally, other than that goal. It wasn't really a vintage Disasi performance. At the same time, I don't think we called on him too much. It wasn't. He didn't have to do too much. He covered Chalobah well in many moments when he tried to make runs behind as the second defender. But for me, I don't know, man. It was weird. A couple of games ago, I thought he was easily our best defender. And then since that Liverpool final and then all the way from there, it's just been a little bit mare again. And it's just I don't know. And again, maybe it's just that they're still very young, inexperienced. I don't know. But today he was okay. I don't know what I'd give him as a rating. Yeah, I mean, forward, I'll let you take over. I don't really know what to say about Disasi, to be honest with
Yeah, I thought he was all right. Made one really good tackle in the first half, actually, that I remember. But then other than that, no, just okay. Probably would give him a 6. If we're talking like overall conversation around Disasi, he had that nice little purple patch, the last, let's say like around early February, around that. And it was nice. People were saying, "Oh, this could maybe be our centre back to start for next season," and all of that. And I'm like, let's just hold our horses here, because I've seen a lot of mid performances, inconsistencies, poor mistakes, and poor attributes in certain areas in terms of like defending in wide spaces, not being as dominant in the air as I thought he would be, given his size. And a lot of other things, right? So I'm like, the jury for me is still out on Disasi, in terms of where he's going to be with Chelsea. I think for me, he was brought in to be a squad player, kind of a panic buy after the Fofana injury. And for me, I still see him as that. And I still need to see way more if I'm going to be convinced of anything else. And again, for right now, where we are in the season, he's like our leading centre back. Now he's the main guy with Chalobah. Obviously, when Cole by then she'll come back, they maybe will still be like kind of second to him because he's taken up the more senior role with Silva being at the team. And that's okay, but long term, is he the guy to be doing that? Not for me. No, he's not. He's not good enough, if I'm honest.
I hear you. I mean, AJ, do you air the same thoughts, sir, as forward?
Yeah, I agree. We were going into the season, we weren't thinking about Disasi or any type of other defender. So now that he came in and he's started as a squad player, and now he's kind of, like you said, the main guy, just because of the circumstances, I think we're getting more out of him than we thought, so I think we should give him credit there. Again, he had a quiet game for a defender is not bad. The only thing is we still conceded 2 goals, so that's where it kind of makes it weird. But in terms of just what we're getting from him, it's decent. It's again, he wasn't my choice, starting center back. So he's giving us something. It's
I hear you. I hear you. Well, we'll fly on to Chalobah quickly as well. I mean, he's only been back in such a short space of time. I think for the first goal, he was definitely at fault as far as Gusto was as well. Other than that, he covered the grass well, got stuck in here and there. He's a good option for me, Trevor Chalobah. He really is. I just don't know whether I think his best role is in the back three, still, in my opinion. I don't know whether I'm sold on him playing in a back four as a 2. But at the same time, when I think about how the others have performed and how he's performed since he's been in, I mean, is there much difference in that centre-back role? I don't know. I mean, I think he will go in the summer still, in my opinion. I think we will sell him. He's one of the players I think will be up for sale. But again, I always go on about, since he's been out the team, is there a massive quality difference between Chalobah, Badiashile and Colwill? And Disasi, in fact, all of them. I don't think so, personally. But I thought he was okay, barring the goal. I still don't think that relationship between the two of them is the best pairing from what I've seen. I just a bit. It leaves me a little bit like, if you know what I mean, when I watch him. But I guess it does. I feel like that with whoever's playing there, to be quite honest with you, most times. So, I mean, forward. What's your thoughts on Chalobah? Do you think he is? In terms of quality levels, do you think the levels are still the same with the others, or do you think there is a bit of a gap between Chalobah and the others?
I think his level since coming back has been very poor, if I'm honest. And I don't like saying that because I like Chalobah a lot. Obviously, we've done shows before in previous seasons where we're talking about how he's come in and done a good job when Tuchel was here. And I think, again, I agree completely that his best football certainly will come in the back 3. I don't think he's strong enough, sturdy enough to be in a back 4. And certainly off the layoff that he's had with all the injuries this season, uncertainty around if he's going to even stay or not, because we wanted to sell him in the summer, couldn't get that over the line. And obviously, I'm pretty sure he knows, like most of our squad did last season, that he's leaving in the summer. So it's kind of it's a bit difficult for him. And now he's come back into the team, made some mistakes. We know he's not great in the air. He's kind of become the scapegoat online. I don't know if he's seeing that or feeling that, but maybe he's even feeling it in the stadium that people feel like he's kind of like the odd man out in the sense that, if he makes a mistake, let's be ready to pounce on him. So that's why I feel bad that he is making mistakes since he's come back, because I do like the guy, obviously, in general. And I also think he is better than people give him credit for. But I mean, he was a 4 today out of 10. If I'm honest, he wasn't great. And yes, it's not ideal. But I think the one saving grace really is that obviously we're going into the Leicester game. He'll probably still be the centre back. I mean, if you told me Obadiah Shaw or Colwell were back, I wouldn't be like, oh my god, like we're getting an amazing centre back. No, because those guys have been poor in their own right at times this season. So we're just hoping that Chalobah can at least do well till those guys are back. And just the last thing as well, on him leaving in the summer, if he leaves, fair enough. I'm not going to cry over that, but I feel like there are times where you can keep squad players who have come from the academy to be squad players, because they're there for your depth. They're always going to give their all for the club. And I've seen teams even online posts earlier about with Real Madrid talking about how appreciation post for Vasquez, appreciation post for Nacho Fernandez. These guys aren't world beaters. They're very mid. They're very mid at Real Madrid, but they're just there to do a job. They've been there for 5-10 years, and they can come in and do a job when need be. If they were there for a whole season, Madrid fans would hate them because they wouldn't be good enough. But for a few games at a time, Chalobah can give us something similar. So we'll see. We'll see for Leicester. And obviously, if he drops a stinker there, then we're gonna be on his case. But we'll see how it goes with him though.
100%. AJ, what's your thoughts on Chalobah?
Again, I agree for the most part. We didn't have much expectations for him this season. Once we had Thiago, we had Badia Shield, Fofana, Colwell, especially Colwell coming back. We kind of were writing him off. So we're getting bonus minutes from him. We're getting bonus output from him. He's coming and this is not the best situation for him to come in right off the injury. He's already in the starting lineup. So, what we're seeing is what we should be expecting. But he's not the greatest. He's not the worst. So,
what about Cucurella then? I'll go back to AJ on this one. What about Marc Cucurella? Because he's been out for such a long time, and obviously we've had Chilwell in, who's not really hit the ground running. Some people were very impressed with him. I thought he had a very good game today for his first game back, barring that moment where he does that. He has that numpty moment where he just reacts when he doesn't need to, and he should have just, he tried to get in front of the ball when he got caught. But barring that, what was your thoughts on Cucurella?
I mean, we say barring that, but since Cucurella has been at Chelsea, he's always had a moment like that. So I think that's him. Yeah, I think that's just what it is. And before, when we were signing Cucurella, I was excited. But when I seen how his play style, I was kind of questionable at Chelsea. I was like, damn, I don't know if this is working right now. And then he's been in and out the team. He's injured. He's this, that. So it's still so hard for me at least, to get a read on this player. But in terms of today, him coming back from injury and playing, he did put up a solid performance. He didn't seem too off the pace. His passing was decent. His positioning was decent. He did make a mistake, like we said, but overall, it was a decent performance. It was a typical Cucurella performance. Play decent and make a mistake. That's it.
But forward, you're not a massive fan of Chilwell, but I can't remember what your thoughts are on Cucurella as a left back. What were your thoughts today?
I'm not a massive fan of any of our left backs. At least not the ones that come from the academy. I thought they were good, but
Maatsen, didn't he?
Yeah, they're not here. No Maatsen, no Lewis Hall. But yeah, it is what it is. But today he's getting a lot of hate online, Cucurella, and I guess he's one of the other people that people like to scapegoat. Obviously, we'll get onto the goal, but his general play I thought was good. I think he offers way more in build up than Chilwell. Composing the ball, good weight on his passes. That's good. Defensively, he is not good 1v1 in terms of if someone's running at him in wide areas, he backs off a lot, which gives them space. And that's why Gallagher will come onto him as well, did quite a lot of good work defensively trying to help him out. And he needs that. And that's kind of the thing with him, is that he needs that more than a Chilwell. Not that Chilwell's amazing defensively, but he's just got that bit more physicality. So he's a bit more comfortable stepping in, knowing that he can recover in those situations. Again, Cucurella, when he played against Arsenal, he had a very good game against Saka. He was super aggressive. He was touch tight, never let him really turn. And that's a good attribute of his. But the goal that we conceded, the second goal, is an illustration of how that can work against him, because there's being aggressive and then there's just being boneheaded stupid. To step that far and try and intercept the ball from behind the player, he didn't need to do that in that situation where we're literally 3-1 up. You can see we're now just sitting in the mid block, just looking to defend. So he didn't need to jump in that situation. If he wanted to get touch tight, like be on his back, then cool. But to try and nick it around the corner was just silly of him, and he got punished like emphatically by Murphy. So things like that I don't like seeing, and that's part of why I'm not a big fan of him, and it's another big waste of money in this squad. But again, if we're looking at just today's performance, I thought overall pretty good. I'd probably give him a 6, I'd say. Yeah, decent for what his return is, but we're talking big picture of him, like still him above Chilwell, but that's not saying much, if I'm honest. I think both of them are super meaty, super meaty.
Fez. Let's move on from the defence into the midfield. Who's this? It's just come in. Let's have a quick look. Cali boy. Okay, cool. Let's get into the midfield. Let's start with. I want to talk to you about Enzo Fernandez today because I thought he had, in terms of the goal, the first goal that Newcastle scored, I thought he was a part to blame with the pass. His accuracy is better than that. He usually gets it straight to the defender. You know, he kind of overplays it and Gusto commits. But Gusto had control. It still had control of it. It was just the way Gusto then, his second touch kind of dragged it backwards and then put us in trouble. But, you know, if you notice something in the game, he was the deepest midfielder today. He was the one that was actually dropping into the defence and playing the 1-2s and whatever. And what I noticed with Caicedo is he played more like the Enzo role, if that makes sense. It's like they just switched positions, especially in the second half at one point. And obviously Enzo was getting a lot more on the ball. But then you look at the quality of when Palmer then got moved into more of the middle role and he received the ball from Enzo, who had the eye to play the ball in between the midfield and defence. And then obviously we scored that. I mean, it was a great goal for Palmer. We'll talk about Palmer in a bit. But I still think there's more to come from him. And I still don't think Poch is getting the best out of him, in my opinion. I think there's so much more about Enzo Fernandez than what we're actually seeing in him at the moment. However, I feel like when I watch him, he's at a point where I look at him and I feel like he's just doing the job for the team sometimes. And, you know, where he's not the most aggressive. He's aggressive. He'll get about a pitch quite a lot, actually, when you look at the stats as well, and he'll try and win balls, and he's not exactly the most athletic and getting up and down the pitch. But I just feel that Poch is still struggling to utilise him to what I want to see him for in terms of getting the best out of him. And I think he might be trying to do a little bit different things, like today, playing him a bit deeper, receiving ball deeps, playing balls left and right or through the middles, which is what we saw today, which is what Graham Potter was doing with him when he first came across. Was it Potter or Lampard? I can't remember. So, you know, I don't know. You know, I thought he was okay today, by the way. I don't think he was atrocious. I think it was just a okay Enzo Fernandez performance. But I mean, forward, what are your thoughts on Enzo? And do you agree with me in terms of like maybe just still not seeing the best of him, or maybe the manager's still not getting the best out of him as well?
Listen, my boy Enzo needs to be freed from this flipping terrorist, bro. Like, I'll just be honest, it's actually jarring watching how he plays on the pitch. Like,
I know.
And it's not to fully like take all like responsibility off of him, because he was, by his standards, quite poor on the ball today. But like, just I look at him. Obviously, we'll get on to Caicedo, but like, we have the players to play much better football, and positionally, like on the pitch, maybe he doesn't like have the top level discipline, but also I don't expect that from a guy who's been coached by more stringent coaches at international level as well as club level. And I see him have like a lot more discipline with his positioning, like doesn't make as many silly mistakes. And I feel like part of that is maybe on him, but also on management and like the teams that he's been in and being coached properly in the system. And I thought with this team, like he has almost a bit too much license to go in certain places where he doesn't need to be. And I don't like that, which is why, like you're saying, which you rightly pointed out, he was dropping deepest in our midfield quite often. So I didn't like that. For some of his passing today was very sloppy, very, very sloppy. And I expect a lot more of him from that, that degree. I think one thing that I was watching for a lot more from him today was how he was off the ball, like defensively, because he was very poor against Liverpool at Anfield, then great at the Etihad defensively, and then poor again at Wembley, very, very poor at Wembley. So I was looking today to see how he was against a team that I thought would come out to press quite a bit in Newcastle. And defensively, I thought he was actually quite good. I think he won the ball back more than anybody else in the first half. I haven't seen the second half numbers, but he was getting about, he was winning the ball back, which is good. I want to see that from Enzo. And then on the ball, not his best game, but still got a good assist for Palmer. Some good passes here and there, which you do expect from him. But I just expect more. So I probably would give him a 5 out of 10. But overall, just this coach, and then we'll talk about the coach later, innit? But this coach,
Yeah.
man, good lord, good lord.
We'll save it. We've got Poch coming up. We got Poch. It seems like he can't even have a break when he wins, but we do need to talk about him a little bit. AJ, our boy Enzo, our boy Enzo. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, again, like Ad said, we're not getting the best out of Enzo, and that's just plain and simple. He's still gonna do his thing. He's still gonna complete his passes, do his work in the midfield, but it's just that's the sore thumb of the team to me.
Yeah,
getting the best out of Enzo and Caicedo. I'm more. The more and more I watch Chelsea, and the more I watch those two, both of them are not suited for the sole pivot role. And Poch doesn't really like to play with a you would think it's a double pivot setup, but it's not really a double pivot setup. It's more like a single pivot and 2 8s. And to be honest, the more I watch them, we need a defensive midfielder. We need somebody who's actually a defensive midfielder who can play in that single pivot role, and we push Enzo and Caicedo as the double 8s forward.
Do you think it would be a better? Would you think it'd be a better equipped midfield if Lavia was fit and playing in that DM role, and then Enzo and Caicedo as your 8s and Gallagher on the bench? Do you think it would be a lot more? You think it would be a lot more functional in that?
I do, because Caicedo and Enzo, there's still missing. There's a quality that's still missing in terms of midfield balance. There's when those two are in the midfield, which is they're basically our midfield, and then you either add Gallagher or you add a defensive midfielder, or you add a 10, or a defensive midfielder, and you just watching them. I want to go with Enzo, Caicedo, and Palmer as a 10. But we can also do Enzo, Caicedo, and a DM specialist as the 6, and then that will push those guys further up the field. And I think Enzo and Caicedo are people who can hold onto the ball in the middle of the field. They can find passes. Caicedo can score, so that would be an added benefit. So I do think the main structure is just off, and I think from that stems what we see, which is inconsistency. So that's how I think,
No, I agree with the words that you come out there. I do think that we're missing that one individual. I know Gallagher's been the third guy in there, but I still don't think Gallagher in the 10's the right answer to it. He does what he does, but it's still just not the answer. I mean, Callie, did you watch the game?
I did. It's all the same shit, just a different day.
Enzo Fernandez, tell me, what do you think about Enzo Fernandez?
I'm going to speak on the player responsibility part, because if we're all being honest, half the players are going to score today. Poch's, Jesus Christ, I don't want to speak on it. Let's look at Enzo. Enzo's an interesting one, because if we're saying player responsibility wise, I think there are just times where he needs to be a bit more situationally aware in the midfield, because there will be times where we're pressing, and you'll see Mudryk, for example. We'll talk about that goal later. We'll be bombing forward, and all he has to do is just take a bit of time and just assess. Maybe I should cut it to the left, but he'll try to play that quick flick. And a lot of the times I see that in our midfield and in our attack as well. Like the wingers, the midfield, they're doing these quick flicks when the defenders are switched on, and then they just cut the ball out and then pass it over our midfield, and now we're in danger. We're on the back foot. So specifically for Enzo, once he's free of the terrorist manager we have, then I'm going to have a real grading season for him. If we're going to talk about this game specifically, I think a 5 is fair, 5.5. But it's just, he could be so much more. There's certain players on this team, you could see it, Gusto, Palmer, Enzo, Caicedo. There could be so much more we get out of them, even at this age. And it's that's the frustrating part for me.
I agree. I'm going to stay with you on this one as well. Moises Caicedo. I was saying that we felt Enzo played more of the deeper role in the second half, and Caicedo was more of the 8, which was unusual to see in a Poch team. I mean, what was your thoughts on Moises Caicedo today?
To be honest with you, when it comes to Caicedo, I feel like him of all people today was who I watched the least on the pitch. I don't know if that makes sense to you. You know how you center in on certain players to see what's going on? today for me it was Gusto, Mudryk, Palmer, Enzo, and Gallagher. But Caicedo, I don't really have any true complaints for today. I just feel like I don't think he's comfortable the way Poch has been deploying him in the last 10 games, I want to say. Once again, like I can say for many other players. But in this game today, I'd score him a bit higher than Enzo. I know he made a silly tackle, people say, for the yellow card, but that's neither here nor there. I'll give him a 6. That's being fair, in my opinion.
I think Caicedo made some very good tackles today. He's got this. What I like about him is when the opposition have the ball and they play that ball in quickly into the area that he's in, he seems to be very good at intercepting and just like winning that, getting that little touch in and like knocking the ball away or something. Like that's what Caicedo is very good at doing. Is he a strict DM that should be playing there? No. Is he kind of accommodating it for us at the moment? Yes. But today, I thought it was okay, in my opinion. I don't think it was bad. It was one of his worst games. I like Caicedo. I really do think there's a talent in there. I think that, like Enzo, I feel that they're both kind of being a bit not let down. Yeah.
No, they're being let down. They're being let down.
being let down by the boss, really and truly. But at the same time, it's like we don't have the answer because we don't have a DM anyway. So it's like we're kind of having to accommodate it. I still think he could tactically get them both to play closer together and just get them used to playing as a pivot and just move together up and down the pitch. That's what I think I would do with them personally, because you could get up the pitch. They'll be good at getting up the pitch together and getting, kind of like recovering as well, moving together. In my opinion, I don't think we do that because we always play alone with 2 8s, like AJ said. So, I mean, forward. What's your thoughts on Caicedo? Again, he's just another one that's very hindered by this terrorist football, but again. You can see this. He's a quality in it. You can see it, can't you? Really, when you watch him, he's just getting the best out of him.
I think aesthetically, he might be one of the best players to watch in the league. If I'm honest, like I was actually watching him closely more than anybody else actually on the pitch. Unlike Kelly, and like I just wanted to because you know what it is, like he's actually in pretty good form of late, right? And obviously I have to big up him for playing all these minutes because we've got no depth behind him. So thankfully he's staying fit, and he's like soldiering through it. And listen, on the ball, like it's why I hate Poch so much, and I hate watching us so much because really, when we have somebody like Caicedo next to an Enzo, you've got Palmer ahead of them, Gusto at right back, like you have enough pieces there to play some really, really good football on the eye, like really good football. And we don't see it enough, but in passages of play, there are times where you do see combinations and things that Caicedo can do to beat a press, to progress the ball, to get out of some trouble. Like he's very, very underrated on the ball. And I think certainly mainstream media and rival fans are like hating on him so much and like picking up on any little thing that he does. And now it's like, oh, he makes some really bad tackles, like really aggressive. I'm like, well, I want my DM to make really aggressive tackles. And sometimes he goes over the limit. But sometimes he's just bang on the money and he's hurting people. And I want to see my DM do that. So that's good. And a lot of his tackles today were on point. And on the ball, he was very good as well. I thought he was honestly a 7. I wanted to give him an 8, but I'll stay with just a 7. I think 7's fine for him because I thought he was good. I thought he's doing his job. And I think there's more to come of him. And again, the one thing I'll just end on is that I don't want them to be, him and Enzo to be the case of like the Paul Pogba where it's like, oh, we need to unlock them in this way and that way. Like, yes. These top players need a manager to get more out of them, but I still need these players to get more out of themselves and provide that consistency because I've seen over the last few weeks, Caicedo is playing at a higher level than he was earlier in the season. So he needs to keep doing that, get through to the end of the season. Hopefully we can do something in the FA Cup. I mean, I say that not really meaning it, to be honest, because we're going to get to Wembley and we know what happens at Wembley, innit? But
I can't get another final. My God.
Yeah, that being said, obviously Caicedo, I've been impressed with him the last few weeks, and he's given me more confidence. Like, you know what, maybe he can do the DM thing. Like, and I feel like all of us, we have a consensus feeling that he probably shouldn't be DM. Like, we know that he's naturally not that guy. Maybe Lavia suits that more, but I don't know. I feel like with the right players around him, he can just do a job there. Like, it won't be the best. Like, it won't be like. He's not going to have the same defensive solidity like Makelele did back in the day in that DM role. But I feel like with how we play, if we want to be like on the ball a lot, press teams high up, and have legs obviously in midfield with him, and maybe somebody else alongside at Enzo, then it can work. So yeah, man. Overall, I thought today he was a 7.
I really need to hear what you guys think he should be doing. Forward, it's interesting. Couch is watching us at the moment. He's asked a question and he wants us to answer it. He's basically said, I'll tell you what he said. He basically asked us, he said, listening, how should Enzo be deployed? I really need to hear what you guys think he should be doing.
So
I
for
think this
me,
depends on the midfield personnel and
yeah, I'll
the
let you go, Callie.
formation. No, because I'm gonna make it sort of quick. For me, if I'm being truthfully honest, if I say, "Oh, best place I think I should deploy him," do we really know the answer based on how Poch has been playing our midfield this season? Like, I'm starting to question where are these guys' best positions. I'm supposed to say Caicedo's an 8. I'm supposed to say Enzo's an 8, and Lavia is supposed to be the 6, right? But why is it that we're not getting those strengths out of them when we deploy them there? Also, likewise, when we do have that type of setup in the midfield where we have 2 8s and a lone 6, we get smashed repeatedly. So it's, for me, it's just like, I think it's down more to tactical tweaks than just, oh, put him in the 6, put him in the 8. I think it's down to how we are playing as a system. And that is why, until I see the system change, whether it be by this manager taking a hit of some za and waking up, or it be a new manager, I need to see different systems having like Caicedo and Enzo in it. Because an unpopular opinion, you can get Gallagher to work off the bench if you play the proper system. So, I mean, I'll let Forward go because he probably has a little bit more details on it. But to me, it's just like, it's sort of a nuanced question to answer when I haven't seen certain things from the system yet.
I mean, go on. I'll let you go. You go on this one, Forward. What's your thoughts on what he said? Because he's saying that he feels that the players should really be taking more responsibility for the way that they're playing more than anything, is what he thinks at the moment.
Yeah, I hear that, and obviously I mentioned that like in my like reply to obviously Enzo's rating. Like definitely him and Caicedo can take more responsibility because they have the ability to do that. Yes, they're young, but they've got quite good experience for their age, so they definitely can do more. And listen, everything that Callie said, completely like chef's kiss. That was perfect because it's nuance for sure. Like you can't just say that, oh yeah, just put Enzo in the A, Caicedo's at A, boom, that's it. Like no, there's a lot more nuance to it, and like he said, which was perfect, that it doesn't matter where they are on the pitch. It's more how they are utilized, what options that they have on the ball. Because you can say Enzo needs to be at A all this much, but then when he gets on the ball, if he hasn't got options around him to progress play to actually make use of his passing range, then it doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter at all. And then for someone like a Caicedo, yeah, I think naturally he should be more of a box-to-box midfielder. So it would make sense if he's more like the quote-unquote water carrier. But obviously he's got a lot of ability on the ball to be more than just that. Yeah, maybe a DM behind them too. You know, and to try and like dictate the tempo of the game, and also be that playmaker alongside maybe a DM who can try and like again be that sort of tempo setter as well, deep line tempo setter. My only thing though with that kind of midfield three is that there aren't necessarily a lot of goals in there. And I feel like having a midfield three like that is almost a little bit similar, not the same, but a little bit similar to how Liverpool's midfield three was, like at the peak of their powers when it was Hendo, Milner, Wijnaldum. Now, again, I feel like our midfield three is technically a lot better than theirs. I'm not even trying to compare them in terms of like work rate or anything. I'm just saying that with a midfield three like how we have, you need a front three that gets a lot of goals. And what Liverpool's front three had was an abundance of goals between Mane, Firmino, and Salah. And I feel like if we're going to do that, and then let's say we're going to play Palmer right wing, if it is getting some goals now, we then need two bagsmen in the left wing and striker position. So if we want to do that, then cool. But if not, then having Caicedo, Enzo as a duo, Palmer in the 10 perhaps, then it's okay. Then it can change things a little bit. So I feel like it depends how you want to use them. And I feel like we can all agree how they're being used now is not optimal, not at all.
I think what we need to see more of, in my opinion, is a consistency in the way that we play structurally. I think there's two, and this again falls on Poch for me. I think he mucks around too much with how he sets us up effectively. I think when you have young players in the team that are inexperienced, the one thing you should at least try and do, and Arteta's been doing it and with Arsenal now for a number of years, is fix them in a system and continue playing them. Now, the one that we have seen in fair, which we haven't liked, is the one with Caicedo being the lone DM and, you know, Enzo and Gallagher being sort of like the more eights pushing up towards where Jackson is. And I think that for me it never works in the Premier League. Not when you're trying to build up from the back and trying to work your way up. And I just think for me personally, a double pivot with Caicedo and Enzo being, and I keep saying it more, and it's not about them just being next to each other. For me, it's more about how they move up and down the pitch. And this all goes
Pressing
back,
together.
yeah, like it goes back down to training because what I would do with both of them, and I think Caicedo's already tuned in to be able to do this because of his Brighton days. I think what you need to do with him is when we attack, go together further up the pitch. But when we're off ball, make sure, kind of like not retreat, but kind of go with the game and just like be more in balance, if that makes sense, up and down the pitch. What I keep seeing, which isn't working, and why we seem to suffer in midfield, is there's always too much of a big gap between them. So when we are out of position and say Enzo gets dragged out to the left and then he gets beaten and the ball gets played in behind him, because Sterling's too lazy to tuck in and cover that area because he's walking back, or, someone, Palmer, in my opinion, he does his work off the ball, but you can tell he still doesn't always want to be back and tucking in and doing his thing. It leaves open gaps in the midfield, and that's where we get isolated. And that's why I think it's more important that you drill them to where the pivot are closer to each other, but also whoever's playing as the wingers on each side, they drill to make sure that when we're off the ball, they kind of narrow in and tuck in, if that makes sense, and really help the midfield. So I don't know, maybe I'm going a bit more too tactical here, but it's just the way I see how I want to see what we're doing with what we have at the moment. I think playing him deeper and him receiving the ball more and trying to dictate it is what I think Poch was trying to do today in the second half, especially. But moving forward, I think to get the best out of him, he needs to be on the ball a lot, up and down the pitch. Not just waiting for the ball to be received once the defence gets the ball from the back and gives it to Caicedo, and Caicedo's got to drop a shoulder, beat one or two midfielders, and then find it. If that makes sense, like it just doesn't work for me personally. I want to ask forward about Conor Gallagher, because there was actually a tactical ploy of Poch today. He tried to problem solve something. I know it sounds like a shock, but he did, and he decided to put in the second half Conor Gallagher on the left and move Sterling in the 10 until Mudryk come on. Do you think that was a good... I mean, we'll talk about Poch in a bit, but do you think that was also a good tactical ploy by him? And do you think it actually worked because Gallagher was able to help Cucurella more on the twos, on the defensive aspect as well? And what was your thoughts on Gallagher's performance today in that role?
No, it was interesting to see, because it's something that I've actually called for earlier in the season. That is maybe something that we can do, because I've seen managers like Emery and other managers use like midfielders, but deploy them out wide. And then also then that allows you to have maybe a creative player who is on the wing to then be in the middle. Now, I've thought that would be Gallagher being on the right and then you move Palmer inside. Instead, it was Gallagher offering on the left to move Raz inside. And obviously, defensively, like I mentioned earlier, like Cucurella needed the help, so it was good that Gallagher does that dirty work, because again, we will get on to Raheem Sterling later, but Gallagher definitely did help him out defensively, and he's a good cog in terms of like, cool, he can fill in there and then also still provide something, but he's not going to be a dynamic winger starting in that position, right? But he can still at least offer something in our build up and be a decent sort of like cog in the wheel. So I thought it worked all right. I just feel like, again, that tactic could have come earlier in the season that can still be used better than it was. So there's still more to be seen with that. But in terms of his performance, Gallagher, I thought it was just much of a muchness with him. Not much great ability. At times, poor possessions lost in terms of like just, okay, there's opportunity to maybe dribble into a certain area and then make a pass, and it's always safe with him, which I don't like. And I thought like he wasn't even winning as many duels as I'm used to seeing with Gallagher, to be honest, which is a bit strange. But yeah, no, much of a muchness with Gallagher. Nice that you got a little assist at the end for Mudryk, even if he didn't mean that. But yeah, pretty much. He's just like, listen, move out of the way, let me score. But yeah, no,
too much in this 10 roll. Give me the ball, man. This is my time. Like,
literally. But it was it was interesting seeing him play, because I saw it in the first half a lot that he was just moving to the left to cover for Cucurella, and also like he was sort of stay there for some of the attacks as well. So I'll probably give him a 6, standard 6. Thought he was all right. It's Gallagher, in it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's just Gallagher, in it. Galadog. I mean, Galadog's performance today. What was your thoughts?
4. What score did you give this, man?
Just a standard 6. Standard 6.
Standard 6. I would say it's tough. I mean, people argue it would be Caicedo or Gallagher were the best midfield today. Midfielder, excuse me. Sorry, I'm reading something. I would give him. I give him 5.5 too. Like I can't be asked to really judge a lot of these things. I'm still upset that Newcastle scored at the end of that game because that lets me know had Newcastle just showed up at 60% today, they would have battered us. So I don't know how to feel about these things. Like if I'm keeping it to the subject, give him a 5.5. He needs to improve as far as just attacking output in general. I do know that he got the assist, but let's be real. So it's like I just want to see him improve attacking wise because even though forward you did say he made less tackles than he usually does, on the whole he's usually very involved as far as breaking up play and intercepting balls. So I'm not going to criticize him there when he has like that one random off day and that type of attribute. But for me, it's about the attacking combinations. Like we could just improve and be more efficient. But I guess I could say that about a lot of people. 5.5.
All right, let's go on with a bit of positive and talk about Cole Palmer because he was, for me, very good today. Not only did he assist, he also scored a great goal, got very heavily involved in the game. And quick little stat for you, 40% of Chelsea's goals scored have involved Cole Palmer. That's what you call Eden Hazard level in terms of carrying a team. Literally is what it feels like anyway. Playing off the right, dropped into the middle, which is what he did when Enzo found him in the pocket. He's really been, I wouldn't say a shock because when we signed him, we didn't know what to expect. But in terms of what he's done and the goal assist levels and all of the stats that we've seen for what he's done up to this point, he really has stood out and took control, especially from the offensive side of things, of actually trying to bring out the best in best of what we have, which ain't a lot. Don't get me wrong, but in terms of his own performances as a Chelsea player, I think he's been very good, and we've been very heavily reliant on him. And today he was man of the match for me. He was just very good all game. And this is the Cole Palmer that we like to see. The finish was beautiful. Everything about his game was just on point today for me. And, off the right, he sort of hogs the right, but he doesn't because he kind of cuts in on his left and it occupies that little gap in between the left back and the centre back, which I like as well. He drives in. So, I don't know. It was a good performance. You can't knock the guy. I think he's been playing very well. And when you see like this forward, when you see like this on Cole Palmer, no player aged 21 or under has been directly involved in more goals in Europe's top 5 leagues this season than Cole Palmer, who has now joined Jude Bellingham on the same level of goals plus assists in Europe's top 5 leagues of players aged under 21. What's your thoughts on him?
My thoughts is this is one of Pep's biggest ever mistakes. I mean, the fact that I'm seeing Doku on the wing for them and all of these other things. You've got Nunes at times playing left wing for them and all these other things. Like Cole Palmer could easily be starting for Man City right now, the best team in Europe. And I think for me, they would have been comfortably top of the Premier League if he stayed with them. That's how good he is. Amazing player. Like honestly, I'm so glad that we got him, even though it was a bit of a panic buy, or not a panic buy, more of like good. It was good enough being opportunistic in the window because his situation arose. He was brave enough to want to take the leap to come play here and play week in, week out, and it's benefiting because for me, he's going to have to get into the England squad. He's that good. Like he is top quality, and again, like he's young, so of course there's mistakes at times, inconsistencies at times. His finishing actually, despite the stats, his finishing actually can be improved a lot more. And even in the area where he did score today, I've been waiting for him to do more in terms of like whipping it in the far corner with the same like ferocity that he did at youth level. Because again, I watched a lot of him at youth level. There wasn't too much to see with Man City, but I did watch him a lot at youth level, and he was scoring a lot from that zone. Whether it was mainly far post, but also whipping it to the near post as well. And that's what he did on this occasion. He caught the keeper out, who had quite poor positioning, but you have to benefit from that. Again, he had the vision to see it and then execute it as well with great technique, fire it in at the near post. So brilliant from him again. Again, that he can be decisive. And overall, again, we see his quality. So it's hard to give this guy too much credit. Like I'm just amazed by what he's been doing. Some of it I did predict that he would do well for us, but to do this good, especially given how bad we've been, like Now you got to tip your cap to him, man. So big up him. Big up the recruitment team for actually getting him over the line. And yeah, long may it continue. I think there's a lot more to come from him with a better manager, if I'm honest. Because again, we're going to Poch. I'm trying to keep that all. I'm trying to keep that all under wraps when it comes to Poch in it. But there's a lot more to come from Cole Palmer, man. A lot more to come.
Go on then, Cali, Cole Palmer, cold Palmer, should I say? Very cold Palmer. What are we saying?
Some people will say a 9. I'll say an 8 with slight nitpicking towards if this guy is efficient. My word, could you imagine if he was efficient in front of goal? That would be a scary thought. But what is there really to say about this? Like, I think he's easily the man of the match. I liked the quality on the left boot, the shot he took. I'm pretty sure he's not left-footed, so that would be a lot more difficult to pull off, and that's why he gets my respect. Really here, I just need him to be free from the terrorist show once again so that I can see how he really cooks, because I truly believe had he stayed with City, you would see an even better player than we see before us, and I'm interested to see in how he'll improve. So easily man of the match, an 8 seems pretty solid to me. Really good player, man.
Cool. Yeah, no, I hear you, and it seems like Potter's going to be talking a bit about Potter in a second, but let's go and get this out. I mean, we spoke about him earlier on, but let's go back. Let's stay with Cali on this. Cali, Raheem Sterling.
Sterling's such a weird one, huh? Like it's either like a really really good game, game, or there's never really an in between. I really don't know how I feel about Sterling right now. I just want him to take more responsibility. When Couch brings that up about our players, he's one of the main people I look to take more responsibility. And it was like, I think it was like the 40th minute, he was already on a yellow card. Like,
yeah,
I need more from Raheem Sterling. So similar to like Enzo, I do believe that we could be deploying Sterling in a much better system, in a much better way. He's always been far more effective when he has a proper striker in front of him and he comes off the wing. But what do I know? I don't have coaching badges. That's for Poch to apparently figure out. To make it simple, yeah, I'm gonna give him. I say 6 is too high. I'm gonna give him a 5 as well. I just want more from Sterling overall.
Yeah, and I agree that. I think the criticism of Sterling just comes based on how much he gets paid and his experience and what he's done in the Premier League. Let's be serious. When you're paying someone 300k a week, the levels and standards of your performances in the team should be a lot higher than of others. And the problem with Sterling is he isn't sometimes, and he just doesn't. He doesn't do enough off the ball as well for me. Like he's very flimsy in his positioning as well, which kind of catches us out sometimes. And I think them deploying Livramento against him, even though I felt like he done okay sometimes against him, defensively, he just doesn't like going the other way. And I think Poch noticed that, and that's why he moved him away from that position and into the middle. And I don't know. Look, he should have played the ball across. And if he plays the ball across and Cole Palmer scores, we're probably sitting the same. He assisted. He did have the best of games, but at least he got involved this and the other. But when you see, and we're going to talk about Mudryk in a bit, when you see someone come in on the team like Mudryk did and how well he played in that 10 role, for me, it just kind of makes me feel like he just needs to be bench Sterling for now and just really needs to evaluate himself a little bit and say come on, I'm better than this. Give himself a bit of a rocket up the arse, if that makes sense, a bit of a rocket up the bum kind of thing with Raheem Sterling. But maybe it's like what Forward and other people already say. Maybe he just isn't that guy. Maybe we just wasting a bit too much money on a guy that is just not that guy. And I do think he's a system player. I do think he's not the guy we should be relying on to get goals. But what I do expect from him is experience. Is a man to step up for this football club in moments and try and lead these young boys, especially. And I don't feel like he does that enough. So, I mean, Forward, you've said a lot on Sterling before. Anything else you want to say on him?
Raheem. Let me start with the good. And the good is that there actually is no good. I'll be honest. The good is that there's excuses for him, which I will give him, right? Because I'm a man who likes to look at context and understand things, right? Not just seeing things, but also understanding why things happen. So let me ask both of you guys. How many touches do you think Raheem Sterling had in the game?
Not enough.
Under 50 easy.
Under 50. Okay, so just for context, I'll tell you Cole Palmer, right, had 47 touches in the game. He played on the other wing. So I'll let you guess how many you think
Scratch
Sterling
that.
had.
Under 25. No doubt.
What about you, Jim? How many do you think? Let's say Kylie says 20 is the same. How many do you think, Jim?
Yeah, I'll say 20.
12, because I don't think he was heavily involved today whatsoever. Only once or twice when he carried the ball against Livramento, but probably 12. 12. Answer that.
14.
Okay.
14 touches he had in 71 minutes plus injury time from the first half.
Big
That's
boy
appalling.
Sterling.
It's appalling, but it's not just him, right? So this is the good,
Is it
quote unquote
terrorist
good.
again? Is what I'm trying to think of. Is it terrorist again?
It is on him because really the way that we play, like I said earlier, like, our build up is mainly around down the right hand side, and the right hand side the cohesion is great, but down our left hand side we don't utilize it really much at all, and that's why we've seen in the past when Mudryk plays, people complaining that Mudryk doesn't get enough of the ball and all these things, and it's same for Sterling when he plays on the left too. Like we don't use the left really much at all. So I do feel some sympathy for him. However, you need to try and do more as the kind of more experienced guy in the team. But I don't expect more from Sterling because he's never been that guy at any of the other teams. He was a good third part of the attack for Liverpool behind Suarez and Sturridge. He was good, kind of a secondary / third, tertiary attacker for Man City, even at the best of times. Well, alongside Sane and obviously Aguero, later on Riyad Mahrez, and obviously eventually he was getting benched and just becoming just a sideman, really. And there's guys who can be like that sort of secondary, tertiary attacker. Like an example of that is actually Alexis Sanchez at Barcelona, where of course he was second and third fiddle to the likes of Messi there. Of course you are. But he was able to make that step up when he went to an Arsenal. He can actually pop up his chest a bit and be like, yeah, I'm that guy here. Sterling never, as a character, gave me the feeling that he was going to be that guy here, which is why I looked at Tommy Tukes and the board for signing him and thought, good Lord, that was an awful decision. But I get it. We had the whole sanctions, and then the new board, there was no recruitment team, so Tuchel was basically DOF for the summer. It is what it is. He saw the numbers and thought, oh, let me bring that in. He'll replicate those numbers here, but what he didn't.
Don't lie, though. That's the other thing I would say. There's obviously a player in him because he scored goals, scored assists, third highest goal scorer in the Premier League forward. You can't ignore. From a winger standpoint, he's the third highest, is it? I think, or the fourth highest in Premier League history of goals scored. And I know people say he was in a devastating Man City team where he was surrounded by top quality players. But it goes back to what I've always said about him as a player. He needs to be in a very good system, a system that is functioning. We don't have one. Again,
and that's true. That's true. That's what you said is true. And you're right, the numbers don't lie, but the numbers don't tell the full story, because the full story is that he was in very good attacking teams. Even that Brendan Rodgers team, which, they bottled the league and all of that, they were horrible defensively, but going forward, they were electrifying team going forward. So, of course, he got numbers. And then the Man City team, the Centurions team, again, amazing team going forward, of course. So Tuchel saw those numbers and was like, you're going to bring the player in here, but how can he replicate those numbers when he's not getting any of those same chances? Like, he was not touching the ball 14 times in 70 minutes for Man City. It's just not happening. Unless they're just 1v1s and sitters, which more times he would score. Sometimes he would also miss those tap-ins. You've seen it too. It's just here, you're getting less of those opportunities. So when you do miss a tap-in, and that's your one tap-in that you're going to get in maybe 2-3 games of football, it looks horrible. So that's the thing with Sterling. Like, he's not being used great, of course, but at the same time, you brought him in for 300k, expecting him to be the big man, and he's not that guy at all. So I thought you guys are being quite generous. I would have given him a 3 because he did F4, and then he missed an huge opportunity to get us a goal or an assist. So 3 out of 10.
I haven't given anyone any ratings, to be quite honest with you. I've just
I've seen you've been ducking that, to be fair.
I just kind of been. I find it hard to rate us when I watch us play for 90 minutes. I see the same shit.
No, I hear you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like I feel so. I kind of try.
No progress, no improvement.
Can I say the next player that you go on, that you talk on, you need to give him a rating. The next player from our starting lineup. I know you put Mudryk there, but the next person in our starting lineup, I need a rating from you because conversations will be had.
I think we need to calm down on that one as well, because again, even him today was a little bit whatever. But yeah, he's held up playing that we can talk about.
We will talk.
Mykhailo Mudryk comes on in the second half. Poch decides to put him in that 10 role, take Sterling off. I was very impressed in that short space of time with everything. And what the one thing that I've noticed that I think could be very good for him specifically is he's so quick that once he receives the ball in the pocket and he looks for Jackson, who's, by the way, his hold-up play is immense. I like his hold-up play. He receives the ball, comes deep and receives, and plays a 1-2, a quick 1-2, and then plays it in the pocket behind the defense. You ain't catching him. And with his speed running in behind, and I think if you watched him in numbers of times where he received the ball in them pockets and he got it in, he turned. The first thing he looked to do is either drive with the ball or look for someone to pass the ball to, and then try and run off them. And that's what ultimately led to his goal against his goal with Jackson carrying it, playing it into Gallagher, taking the ball off Gallagher while he's running into that role and using his quick feet to get around. And by the way, there's not many, and I said this earlier on, I don't think there's many wingers that when they get into that position, finish the way he did there. In my opinion. I think Cole Palmer maybe, but I don't see Mudryk, Sterling, any of them, man, doing that in terms of like shimmying, dropping your shoulder, making the goalie commit, making the run around behind, but also keeping the space open to be able to play the ball into the back of the net. And he played. Listen, I like Mudryk. I just think he needs more game time, and I think there will be games where he's up, and there'll be games when he's down, and that's just down to his raw talent. But there's no doubt on denying that there is a talent in this player. It's just how quick can he develop in himself, and also is Poch going to stick and playing him in a specific position like we've just seen now? Because playing him in that role we saw today works when you're playing against a team that maybe ain't playing such a low block. Then they are pressing high and he can receive the ball, turn and run in behind and, and be direct and link up play. And, I just think he's just better with the ball around, even with his vision of playing balls over top, he's better at passing than Sterling in behind for me as well, from what I've seen. I need to see more. I ain't going to go over the top about it, but I need to see more. I think what he done today was very good. And even at the end of the game where he received the ball, done the 1-2 and won the free kick, which ultimately led to us winning the game because it killed time. There was little things that I was just really liked about him, and he looked very on it today. I mean, I'll go to Forward on this because Forward's one that's not been his massive fan, but today I'd like to hear what his thoughts were of that performance. Do you think this 10 role could be a suited position for him moving forward? Do you see a different Mudryk in that role?
Yeah, he was all right. He was okay.
Here we go. Here we go. Right.
No. Listen, it was a good cameo. Listen, he had the same amount of touches as Sterling in less time, so I'll give him credit for that. But no, listen, it was a good cameo from Mudryk. Like you said, obviously it benefits him a lot that it's against a team that was pressing us high and obviously was chasing the game. So you see more of him. You've seen him able to use his electric pace. Yeah. And yeah, obviously took the goal well. I mean, he should probably finish it at the front post rather than trying to go like a cross when there's an open goal. Almost like the guy stop it on the line. But again, that's neither here or there. He was good. And listen, with Mudryk, like you say, obviously he's got the long pass and he's got creativity, he's got vision, he's got ability. You see it. Like if you're playing a game of FIFA, like the way that he plays, his stats would be amazing on the game. And obviously you could use it, you can make him do all these different things, and he has all the ability in the world. But again, him in his own mind, like he's very, very raw, like very, very raw. Yeah. And that's where like it's different. Like, cool, he may have more ability than other wingers that we see in the league, but his decision making, his application, not just like in terms of hard work, but I'm talking about application in terms of like what you then do with the ball, like consistency. Because it's all well and good having like a great 20-yard passing behind that you can whip out, but then when you then lose the ball for no reason at all, or when you then have a really poor first touch, low concentration moments, then it doesn't really mean anything. It's not enough at this level of football, because this isn't the Ukrainian league. This is the Premier League. You're playing obviously under a huge spotlight for Chelsea Football Club. So there's pressure on him. You have to deliver, and he hasn't delivered enough. But of course, that's not the game time, because Sterling's been doing mid and then be getting way more minutes. And it's like, okay, Poch, if your thing's all about, again, we'll get onto Poch later. But with Mudryk, no, listen, big him up for the cameo. I'll give him a 7 out of 10. He was positive, did what he needed to do, ended up being the winning goal. So credit to him for that. I hope he does start against Leicester, but again, we'll see with this manager in it. We'll see. He needs more consistent minutes if we're going to see anything from him, because clearly he's too raw to then just do it in moments. No, he needs consistency. He needs love. He needs patience. If we're going to see anything from him.
I agree. I think we need to do more minutes. I'm not going to go over the top with him, because I think I think he's just a good player in him. I just think he needs to be playing, and he's a confidence player. Confidence being
Yeah.
playing him. You know,
There's a top.
Pochettino's.
I would say you said there's a good player in him. I would say there's a top player in him. It's just there's also a horrible player in him as well, which you see way
Yeah,
too much.
yeah.
So
I mean, there
that's
was
what it
games
is.
where even he can't even make a basic pass sometimes, and I'm just like, what are you doing? He just doesn't read the game well. His reading the game can be quite poor sometimes. But
Mm.
I'm hoping, as of in the September, maybe that he feels a bit more comfortable in how we're playing, and it suits him better that we get more of a consistent Mudryk. Because if we do, I think we could have a really good player in our hands. To be quite honest with you, someone that could be quite effective. Cali, Mikhailo Mudryk. What we saying?
Oh, Ford honestly summed it up pretty nicely. I can't really add much more to that. I'd give him a 7 as well. People are arguing an 8, but I don't know about that based on I think it was just a cameo, and there's a lot of things he can improve in his game. But the thing about him is just he's so raw as a talent. I think the sky is the limit for him. The problem is he going to be able to get that out of him? Like you see it all the time. Many raw, talented players, and they never find the consistency or form to bring that out to the best abilities in themselves. But for me, to keep it sweet, simple 7. I would just like to see him get more game time. But once again, everybody will get into that when it comes to Poch. And yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say. I'm really happy about the game-winning goal from him.
Nicholas Jackson.
It's a weird one, isn't it? It's a weird one. What? Tell me his stats, please. As far as goals, I don't want to hear assists. I want to hear goals.
His stats are, I believe, is it his 11th goal? Is it? If I'm right in saying, or let's have a quick look.
Jackson. I thought it was 10, but I just want to make sure.
Oh, you didn't have to leave to find it.
Yeah.
But what are you gonna say, bro?
I'll start all the way back. If I have to guess, right, he's in around 10 to 12, so that would make him in the top 3 for Chelsea, correct? For goal scored.
Yeah.
But my thing about him is he's
back.
so. Yeah, welcome back, Jim. You're good. Is it 10, 11, or 12, Jim? I know it's around there.
I think it is. I was trying to find it, and my whole computer just shut off. Jackson.
But I'll get to the point.
9 goals in 24 games in the Premier League, 3 assists,
9.
and 1 EFL goal. So he's got 10 goals in all competitions.
Yeah, 10 goals. That's what I thought. Okay. So my thing.
You go.
My thing with him is just this. It's such a weird player, man. Like his hold-up play is elite. I don't care what anyone tells me. His hold-up play is elite. I don't know if he's ever going to be the striker everybody wants him to be. I've always said it seems like he's more of an inside forward than anything. Some people are saying possibly a winger. I just don't know if he's ever going to be that guy for Chelsea up front. And I don't think we need him to be. I think if we can just develop him to give us maybe 5-6 more goals in the league, he could be an excellent backup striker or an excellent inside forward that we can deploy in a certain system. But for me, it's just I don't know how to feel about this guy. It's like I see him wasting chances like Timo Werner again. Like he honestly, as far as finishing wise, he reminds me of Timo for some reason. Like he just misses in front of the net, or he's always offsides for some reason. And it's like then I start looking at Poch again. Like you see him getting into good positions, but he's offsides. You don't think maybe sit him down to the side and say, "Hey, you're constantly jumping offside. Time your runs a bit better." Like I don't.
Yeah.
That once again, we'll leave Poch to the side. But if I had to say Jackson, I can't give him a 7. Honestly, I give him a 6, 6.5. I rate him for getting the first goal. I call those the icebreaker goals because those are the most important goals in the game to me, other than the game-winning one. But I just a lot of the common consensus for the players we see is I need to see more. When Couch talks about player responsibility, that's where I need to see more. I need to see you finish in front of goal better. I need to see you timing your runs better. But a 6 will do for him.
I'll go before forward talks because I know forward's going to go very positive on the situation, and I'm not going negative before we get into this. I think since he's come back, you can see what we've missed. I think what he does very well, I agree with Kelly, holds the ball up very well, carries the ball up the pitch very well. Surprises me actually how good he is at carrying the ball up the pitch, but he's also he's very physical as well. Like he doesn't really get bullied off the ball. I think the question mark with him, the issue is we go into the summer window, we want a striker. How do you fit him in the team? That's my issue with it, because I think there's a quality in what he has, and he has scored goals this season, by the way. He has. But I don't know whether, and I agree with the offside thing. Like today, he really annoyed me at one point in the first half. He could clearly see across the line, right? He had to just hold his run, and it was the goal that he got, which was offside. He decides to just run without using this, and he's offside. He gets called back for the offside, and I just feel sometimes, and this might be because we're being very highly critical of him. He's still very young. He's got a lot of time to improve that into his game. Can he convert himself into what we want as a striker at Chelsea, the Didier Drogba's, the Diego Costa type of striker? I don't know. And I think the problem you have with going to buy a striker and bringing them in is the same issue that we're having with Mykhailo Mudryk right now, is that he needs game time. And it's how you fit him in that. Because if Nkunku's fit, if Nkunku comes back fit next season and he's available and he's firing, he's surely got to be the second striker for me still. And I would choose it over Jackson just purely because it's Nkunku in it. He's just Nkunku. But however, I do think he gives us something that we don't have. And playing him off the left on a left side means that you maybe hinder someone like Mudryk next season. So what I'm saying is there's complications because we bought him as a striker, but I don't feel like he's going to be a striker for the future at Chelsea. Does that make sense? I feel like he's going to be on the bench and he's just going to come on and play some on and off games. And if someone gets injured, he comes in. And that's what I think is going to happen if they go and sign a Victor Osimhen or Ivan Toney. Do you know what I mean? And I don't know. I don't know is what I'm saying. I'm very confused as well about where we go with it. But in terms of what I've seen of him and what I like about him, I think he helps us so much in terms of carrying the ball and inviting players to run off him. I like that. I think it's a very good attribute to have. I think he's quite good with his feet. I think he's quite underrated with his feet, actually, with the ball. I think he's quite good with that and carrying it. I just think he's not good in front of goal, in my opinion. And I mean, he scored an okay goal today, don't get me wrong. But, I don't think he's great in front of goal. I don't think his reading of the game's always amazing. I think his offsides is a bit of an issue for me because I think he could be better. But that's it, really. Like, it's one of them again. And it's not something where I'm saying he's bad. I just think that, again, he's very young and there's still things that need to improve. But you can see how much we missed him when he wasn't in the team to when he's in the team now. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, I get why he has to play all the time right now. It's just, what do we do with him for the future? I'll go on to forward with that question.
But what was your rating overall, Jem?
Oh, you want me to rate him? Okay.
Yeah.
7.
Anything lower than a 7 is sort of dishonest.
7. Between 7. If I'm being honest, I'll probably go with 7.5. If I'm being honest. Only because I think that a lot of good going forward and opening up spaces and carrying the ball. A lot of what we did well today was him and his movement to a degree and carrying. And I like that about him. It helps us a lot. It's just that I want a bit more from him. Do you know what I mean? Like, I want that more. And like, I don't know. I know it's just going to sound very weird. Remember Thierry Henry? I don't know if you remember this. Do you remember when Thierry Henry first went to Arsenal and he played off the left?
Yeah.
He was just very good with the ball, carrying it, beating people. Obviously, he's got more pace than Jackson. Wasn't a very great goal scorer at the beginning. He was just very good. And he always played, and his attributes were amazing. Like, you could see there was a player in him, but you never really knew if he could be that striker up front. And then he brought goals to his game. He went from a winging position to a forward, and he became that guy, and he just scored goals. Like, and that sounds weird, but it kind of reminds me of him a little bit. Does that make sense?
No, I hear it. I mean, no, I hear it. Listen, somebody will probably clip you for that and be like, "Oh my God, Jem just compared Nico Jackson to Thierry Henry."
Yeah, it's not Thierry Henry.
That'll be a madness. No, but what you're saying,
Yeah,
yeah.
you get what I'm saying to a degree.
No,
Like,
get the disclaimer out there. Get the disclaimer out there. But
Yeah.
no, well, like, I hear you 100%, and I agree with I agree with everything that you said. I would also give him a 7. And again, like the ability to drive with the ball while also defending off players, like it's very good. It's very underrated, ability to have. And he was illustrated in that our third goal. Because yes, Mudryk does well to take the ball on and then go past the keeper and score. Gallagher he gets the assist, but the best part of that goal for me, the hardest part of that goal to execute was Nico Jackson's 50-yard run. Like what he did there to hold off Botman, who's not a slouch and not a easy defender to hold off like that, but to hold him off and then dribble up the pitch and then make the pass was all quality. And we see him do that a lot. And it was good to see this performance from him today in terms of that aspect of the game, because against Brentford, I thought his overall game was probably one of the worst that I've seen it. Other than obviously scoring a great header, but I feel like that was poor. And like with Jackson, I'm almost used to the opposite, where I don't expect great finishes, but I expect the rest of your game to be quite good in terms of like hold up play, linking up play, decision making. Most times, or not most times, your decision making being okay. Like, because that's something he needs to improve, because we can all agree that we see the ability in him, and we see that there's something that there's something more in this player for sure. It's just that times the decision making is poor. And obviously in front of goal, he is Werner-esque. He will go offside a lot. In front of goal, he is horrible, no doubt about it. But obviously the difference with Werner is he was coming off scoring like 30 plus goals, being third top scorer in Europe. Coming into Chelsea, we're thinking, okay, you're the finished article. You're going to finish for us now. It's not the case for Nico Jackson, because yes, he's playing a lot of minutes, but people forget that this is a guy who's on very, very, very modest wages compared to the rest of the squad. Was bought in for quite a modest fee for like 30 odd million. And for me, he is better than Rasmus Højlund. He is having a better first season in the Premier League than Darwin Núñez. And these are guys who were bought for twice the money of Nicholas Jackson. So I'm like, for what he was brought in to do, also for the wages that he was brought in with, and also the money that we paid for him, and how I saw him when he first came in, I thought, he's actually doing quite a good job of somebody who isn't the main man. He isn't an Osimhen type signing. He isn't like like Højlund type signing in terms of like, you're going to be the guy for the next 8 to 10 years. He was brought in as okay, kind of like, we'll see what you can do. You're going to more than likely be second fiddle to Nkunku or play off of Nkunku. And obviously Nkunku's been a non-factor for most of the season, and he's had to step up, and he's done pretty good. Of course, he can do way better, but he's also young. He can improve going into a second season. Again, he is only 22 years of age. There's certainly a lot more to come from Nicholas Jackson. I feel like people are very harsh on him, and I just feel like for somebody who's actually trying his best to pull weight for the team, compared to other players, he deserves a bit more slack. I think he deserves a lot more slack, given the ability that he has and what he's given to the team.
He's registered more goals than Højlund, Callum Wilson, Kai Havertz, Evan Ferguson, Kudus, Gabriel Jesus, and others. He's on 9. The rest are on 7s, 6s, and 5s and 4s. And, you can't ignore that. Like, he's... All right, majority of them were scored against Tottenham. Don't get me wrong. Let's be serious. But, he still had to do it. And at the end of the day, like, I don't know... I don't really know... like I said, my confusion with him is what we do with him in the future, if that makes sense. Because there is a player there that maybe could get better, especially if he starts putting balls in the back of the net more comfortably. His heading's not bad, because he scored some very good goals with his head this season, like very good goals with his head. He just has a bit of a switch off moment. I can't really explain it. Like you expect him just to finish it there, or easy, and he'll just do the weirdest thing, and you're like, how have you done that? Like, I don't know. And that's maybe just where he's very raw, and he just needs a bit of time. But you're right, it's only his first season, and my issue with it, and I keep saying it, is you go and buy a striker and you bring him in, he becomes second striker. If Nkunku manages to get fit and he's firing, is he starting in front of Nkunku, really, in terms of what Nkunku can offer in front of goal? I don't think so. But what he does offer is an alternative, depending on who we're playing. And if you get the right manager in, you can make it all work with him, with Nkunku, with a striker. I really do think that. We're also going to have to sell players. And equally, maybe a Sterling, a Mudryk, or someone ends up, going out the door. That could potentially happen, don't get me wrong. But it's going to be an interesting...
Can I add one thing just lastly with Nico Jackson? And I feel like it's a good question that you asked in terms of how do we use him long term, because you're right that as a not pure 9, I don't I don't personally see it either that he's going to be the pure 9 for us if we're going to be challenging for league titles and doing well in Europe. I don't see that personally. But it could change. We've seen it change with other strikers, right? We see again. Look at Darwin Núñez now. Even though he's not amazing, like Liverpool fans are like popping him up big, and of course it helps being in a team that's ready to be like compensate for you being asked for a lot of the season, and then you're turning up now. Great. Obviously, Nico Jackson isn't afforded that for sure. But what I will say about Nico, right, is like cool. He could become that number 9, but I feel like he's always going to be best suited as like a second striker, and maybe playing in a front 2. But for me, I would have liked to have seen us at times this season play with like a front 3. And I think obviously in the future, okay, it's hard to talk about Nkunku because he's never here. But let's say Osimhen does come in, right, or just any 9. I feel like you could play a front 3 and a narrow front 3 where it's Osimhen in the middle as a 9. You have Palmer, so like inside right, being like the playmaker of the front 3. And then you have Nicholas Jackson, that's a left forward. And that left forward could obviously be either Nico or it could be Nkunku if he can stay fit. Because we know Nkunku can operate in those half spaces.
Yeah, true.
And I feel like, I just feel like with Jackson, like he can do that part where he can obviously like drop deep, kind of link up play a bit, but then also play on that last shoulder at times as well and be like that guy who can make runs from deep and be like a nuisance to the back line where like it's hard for him to be sort of tracked when the back line are having to be worried about an Osimhen. If you have Nico Jackson working off of an Osimhen, then you can get more out of him. Plus, we know he can dribble out wide and create.
Yeah. No, I was going to say, I think that could be quite deadly, you know, that if we get a really prolific striker like an Osimhen and you have a left-sided forward like Jackson, whose attributes is to actually drop a bit deeper and carry the ball, but also very good at holding it. You can knock balls long, and you've got 2 big players up there as well, like winning balls, and him being able to attract defenders out of position because of his natural runs. And it's only going to, whoever's playing up front, it's only going to be a benefit because of the attributes Jackson has, right? Like that I think could be good. And I think it's different to what Nkunku could bring, because with Nkunku, I think he can carry the ball, he could create, but ultimately with Nkunku, you want to see him arriving at the edge of the box or end of the box on the end of things and bang. Do you know what I mean? That's just Nkunku, isn't it? But with Jackson, it's a different story. It's more he drops deep, he receives, he carries the ball, beats one player, carries the ball. The main striker makes a run off the side. Palmer's running through. Like, I get it. I think it just gives us options, though. Does that make sense? Like, and how we could really play him. Like, but we'll have to see. We'll have to see what happens with that. We might not even be able to buy a striker if we don't sell players, supposedly. Pochettino, come on, then. Let's get into Pochettino talk, because it's. Some people will say, "Well, why are you talking about Poch today?" Like, you know, for me, he's always going to be under the spotlight. I ain't going to start this conversation. I'm going to let Callie and then Forward go onto it. Callie, Mr. Pochettino and his performance today. I mean, he got some things right. He put Gallagher to the left. He banged Mudryk on for Sterling, which ultimately changed the game and Mudryk getting the goal. What is it for you that is still not right with Pochettino?
He's just not good enough. I'm going to let Forward cook. And I know he's gonna cook, so I'm gonna be the guy that makes it short, brief, and simple. He's not good enough, and people can argue that the players are not good enough. But then I have the counter argument, which is during the summertime, and I have the clips when we were getting the reports about the players we were going in for. Everyone, and I mean everyone, was okay with the midfield. Everyone thought we had decent wingers. There was a lot of people talking about the wingbacks or not having enough wingbacks or fullbacks. That's fine. And there was much talk about the goalkeeper and the striker. But all the other positions, I was told, were good. So in that case, my main issue with Pochettino is the cowardice. I've never seen a manager feel pressure from the game as if he's the player. It's like he'll see that our midfield will start getting run through. He'll see that the defense is shaky. And then instead of trying to create some attacking impetus to relieve us or pressure or some type of tactic to possess the ball better, he just lets it go. And he'll let it go and he'll let it go. I mean, granted, today in the second half, he did make the proper changes. He did do what was needed to win the game. But if we're being flat out honest, we won 3-2. That means Newcastle on a better day either draw this game or win the game outright. And that's just unacceptable for me. Like, yes, we won, And I'm not trying to down Pochettino when we win, because that would be foolish. Like, it's Chelsea. I want them to win, no matter my personal feelings on any of the players or any of the managers that ever coach here. But my main issue with Poch is we are sitting no different than we were with Potter, and we crucified Potter, crucified him to the point we made sure Potter got sacked the same calendar year. So if that's the case, I have to be fair. Like, I can't say, oh, because Pochettino's had experience at PSG, oh, he got to the Champions League final against Liverpool with Spurs. Like, no, what is he doing at Chelsea Football Club? That's the question. And what he's doing at Chelsea Football Club is abysmal. And if he keeps on this rate, it's like every time I keep saying the top 3 worst Chelsea managers, people keep putting themselves in the list. Like, oh man, I'm gonna live forward, cook this fool. Just the reality is, you can say tactically anything. He's just not good enough. That's the reality.
Yeah. Before forward goes, I think the most important thing here in all of this is, and this is what we all stress, the majority of us all stress about, is that there has to be some sort of progression, slow progression, and the mentality of this squad always, for me, reflects by the manager, in my opinion. And I look at this squad, and they struggle to control games. They struggle to dominate games through a consistent period. I don't see much proactivity from the manager. Today, when it comes to the problem solving, I would say he got it right today in terms of, trying to stop them. But equally, I agree with Cali. They still scored 2 goals. And okay, we can blame individual errors for that. But it just seems like, for the amount of, and you've got to bear in mind, we had no European football as well. He's had enough time on the training pitch to really drill these players. I know we've had injuries, and Couch mentions it. He's suffered from this and the other, but there's been moments through this season where he hasn't had the injuries. He's actually had a bench available, and he still struggled to work out his best team, the system that he wants to drill and play, and get the best out of what he has. And he's still to the point now. And I don't get it, because he's meant to be an experienced manager. I don't see the experience, and this is why I didn't want him. Because this is why I didn't want him, because I actually really truly believe that he hasn't moved on from that Tottenham team in terms of system and profiling and how he wants to play things into the evolution that we are now, which is a completely different type of football to what it was even then. And I think you can agree with me a little bit forward on the footballing side of how different it was when he was at Spurs to a degree to where it is now. And I just think he's very naive, and that's what I think he is. I think he's just a very naive guy that doesn't like problem solving, that just wants to do what he wants to do, and he doesn't really think about the profile of player he has and how we can get the best out of him. And I don't like it. That's the truth. So
No, I hear you, bro, and listen, I don't agree a little bit. I agree a whole lot, bro. But with all of that, and especially the last part you talk about, like how Poch managed with his Tottenham team and how it hasn't really evolved since then. It hasn't evolved, because at PSG there wasn't much coaching, and obviously there was a lot of bad things we was hearing about from PSG fans, and even from what I saw of them, especially in Europe, it wasn't great. But I turned a bit of a blind eye to some of that, just because it's a unique beast out there with the PSG players and Messi, Neymar, and Mbappe up front. It's hard to really implement your own style, in a sense, when off the ball you're having to defend with 7 Arsenal players. It's different. So cool. But here it's not evolved. I'm not seeing it enough. I'm seeing a man that's like behind the 8 ball. He's quite archaic, and at times it's reminding me a bit of how Wenger was when he didn't necessarily evolve with the times. Another managers that I can look at, and it's like, even when somebody like Kyle Walker came out the other day doing a podcast with Rio Ferdinand, and he was even mentioning then, like, how when he talks about Poch, it's all about, it's just the hard work. It's just about how hard he got us running and training and all of these things. And he's mentioned even till now, the hardest working team in training that he was ever a part of was his final couple seasons at Tottenham with Poch. And it's like, that's all you're known for, bro. Like, all you're known for is just getting these guys to run and work hard. And it's like, why am I not hearing these players talk about, how tactically you're so adept at this, or you're great at that? There's none of that. No. And then it even translates to us on the pitch when I see you on a match day, and it's like, you're just there, just chilling. You're not trying to get across any kind of tactics or any kind of how we need to be, how we need to behave. Like, it's none of that. He's very passive when it comes to actually getting these guys to play
Naive.
a disciplined style of football. And that's why we see a lot of these mistakes. Yes, these guys are young. Yes, they're going to try and express themselves at times and make their own mistakes. Cool. But we need a proper drill sergeant. We need an authoritative manager to get a hold of these players and get them to actually play as a cohesive unit. And we're not seeing that enough. And that's why we're seeing a lot of mistakes. We're seeing a lot of the inexperience show on the pitch. And it's not good enough. It's not good enough for the level of players that we have. It's not good enough for the club as a whole to be having football like this and be playing such defensive football at times. And it's not defensive, but like playing like such reactive football. And it's like we're allowing teams to come and impose their game on us. And it's like we're having to go away to Brentford and change our system for them. All these little silly things that are happening over the season it's embarrassing. And like where we are in the league is embarrassing. A lot of football that we've seen over the season is embarrassing. And it's not good enough, and that's why he has to leave at the end of the season. Whether this board will be brave enough to make that decision, who knows? But for what's left of the season, what can he salvage? He should get us to Wembley again by beating Leicester over the weekend. It's not a given, but it's Leicester at home. Yeah, and that would obviously get us European football. But then obviously we're gonna have to play. We're going to have to play one of these big teams at Wembley, right? Whether it's semi-final or the final. We're going to have to play more than likely Liverpool or United. Liverpool will probably beat United. City's obviously there playing against Newcastle. And then the third quarter-final game, that's not our one. I forgot who else is left.
It's just all really good teams. From what I remember looking
It
at
is. I mean, there's no Arsenal, no Tottenham.
It's the FA Cup. All legit teams remain.
Maybe somebody can check it. Maybe I'll check it after I finish talking on this. But we're gonna have to beat one of those big teams to win that trophy. That's for sure. And this season, we're yet to beat any big team.
Wolves and Coventry is the other one.
Okay, well, I mean, I was gonna say we can get lucky and get Wolves, but they pammed us twice this season, innit? So Darian knows maybe got Poch's number in it. So nasty. Nasty. I mean, let's say maybe we even get through Wolves in the semi. We're gonna have to still play a big boy in the final. And Poch this season hasn't beaten any of the big teams over 90 minutes with 11 men on the pitch. Because Tottenham called you, we won, but that was the most disgraceful 4-1 of all time. Yes, there's been some good performances. I'll give him credit for Arsenal at home. We should have won that. That was more on the players bottling, Sanchez bottling. Other good performances at home. Liverpool at home was good. City at home was great. Although not defensively, but we scored 4 goals, was great. So we've had some good performances, but is it enough to infuse me with confidence that we're going to win the FA Cup? No. And if he doesn't win the FA Cup, there's absolutely no way he's done enough to earn another season here. So, Poch, man.
He wins the FA Cup. I'm still undecided. Like, I still partially want him to go. Like, because my issue is the progress. He actually, like, for Chelsea, it would have been terrible. But say he's in the exact same position, he doesn't finish cups, but you're seeing liquid football. Like, you're seeing the type of football you want to see, but you know that there's a few tweaks that need to be done. There's a couple of players we need to add, and there's some things that Poch needs to grow himself, but we can see the progress. I think Poch wouldn't be in the cauldron that he's in now if he was showing that type of progress. My issue with him primarily is that I feel like Graham Potter's still in charge. And that's what's really bothering me. Like, I'm not even trying to troll. Like, we made that mistake and said, we can't make that mistake again, right? And then it looks like we made the exact same mistake again. So that would be strike 2, right? So where do we go from here? That's 2 managers in less than 2 years. I'm not counting Lampard. I'm not counting Tuchel. I'm not counting none of that. I'm saying that's 2 of their managers in less than 2 years. And we might have to sack this one. And I'm saying might because the board hasn't gotten through their head yet.
Yeah, and they may not. And that's the issue. But I look at us tactically, structurally, and how we have been playing this season. And there's no doubt that any team that comes to Stamford Bridge, the one thing that they're all doing, and we talk about teams playing low blocks, all right? I don't think many teams do it no more. Because it's not like, I'll give you an example. When Man City play out of the back, the quality and the positioning and the understanding, and they always manage to do it in a way where you can't do this, what Newcastle have done to us today here. Because you know that if they break into them lines, the quality that they have then on before that will just eat you alive and it could be 3-4-0. But when teams come to Chelsea and they play against this Poch system, they all watched us in the past. They know that we're under confidence. They know that tactically these players are maybe not as comfortable as it looks from doing what we're doing here, playing out from the back. They've got 5 players up the pitch. 5, by the way, players up the pitch trying to win the ball high from us. That is arrogance. That is showing confidence to go to away and set up like this. But the bad thing is, you know what makes it so funny? We already know that this system's shit, but they even know that this system's shit and it's not going to work. I know it's like, don't get me wrong, we won today, but how many times have we played like this season and it's backfired on us? How many times have we tried to play 2 centre backs of each side, play the full backs a little bit further up the pitch? Yeah, but then look at your position of your 2 midfielders that are meant to help you get up the pitch, and look at the
space behind the attackers. Behind the attackers, that's the crazy part. There's no pass out.
Yeah,
there's no building from the back here,
or whatever. Like, look, that's it. The distance. This is the issue with him. The distance from where we start from the back to where we end up at the top is too big. This is too big now. And this is why we struggled so much in the first half. He wants us to play like this. This is his fucking shit system that he wants to keep playing. And he doesn't realise that he's crucifying. And I know we criticise the players because they do dumb things, but he is crucifying them by making them play like this consistently all the time and not think in his own mind that eventually we're going to get hurt. Because how many times have we done this and we've got hurt for it? How many times? And he doesn't learn. He just thinks this is the way.
This is my question for you, and this will sum it up. If you can answer this question, Poch deserves to stay. What is Poch doing to conceal Chelsea's deficiencies on all 3 sides of the pitch? Attacking, midfielding, and defending. I said midfielding. My God, my head's gone.
He's leaving them all vulnerable. If anything, he's leaving them in a vulnerable... Look, he must trust them. He really must trust these young boys to do this to him. That's it. Or it is just what I just said. He's just too naive. Yeah, and he wants to just stick to this bullshit. People forget at PSG, he made Mbappe, Neymar, and I can't even remember who he had with them at the time, all toothless, by the way, by playing like this.
Mbappe, Neymar, and Lionel freaking Messi, bro.
And Messi.
Messi was having to get hooked off in games.
Messi was getting booed. I can't.
Do you know I used to watch him in the Champions League for Pop? And I used to look at them and be like, what the fuck are they doing? Why are the gaps so big? Like, is it just PSG? Are they lazy? That's what I used to think. Are they just lazy? Like, why are they not covering the pitch? Why is there such big spaces? Fuck me, I can see now why there's so much big spaces. It's because of the way he sets us up tactically.
Yeah.
It's not efficient. He doesn't realise that this is not going to work every fucking week in this league. It's just going to keep punishing us. And he doesn't realise it. And he keeps doing it and doing it and doing it. You know, and we got punished today. You know, and all right, we won, but like Kelly said, Newcastle were actually quite poor in my opinion. They're on a bit of a down thing. But if you're playing against Man City like this again, or Arsenal away, if we play like this against Arsenal away and how they press, up the pitch, we're in trouble. We're in trouble. I'm telling you, they will win balls high up the pitch. They'll press. They're better at winning the ball, and guess what? They're better at moving the ball quickly once they've got it in the attack and create chances and score effectively, because they're driven in their system. Yeah, that's how they play. They play one way, and that way is to press effectively. But we're not great at receiving presses from people. This is what people think. People think we're good at playing out from the back. We're shit. We're actually shit. It's not even a joke. We are crap.
We are pretty bad. Yeah, we actually have the players to play out the back. So that's the issue.
Yes. We have the
players. That's the issue. And the thing is, look at how the makeup of the squad is. Look how the makeup of the squad. Like, we're quite a small team as it is. So that should be that needs to be our strength, is playing out the back, being dominant on the floor. Because if we're not, and we're pouring against a team like Arsenal, what Arsenal will do is they will exploit how bad we are playing out the press. And then they'll win plenty of their set pieces, and then they'll expose the fact that we're a freaking short team.
Set pieces,
which is why at Emirates we're gonna get absolute. If we're not on point in terms of building up the back and like controlling large parts of that game, we're gonna get absolutely murdered, bro, with set pieces.
So. How many times have we gone played out the back like this, right? and I need to do this. Right? I am gonna do this. I swear. I need to watch the games again. How many times have we
Don't
played
do
out
it to yourself.
like this and have effectively managed to get up the pitch quick enough where it's actually worked? And how many times have we actually gone to the side, realised we can't play it out to the wingers because now the fullbacks of the oppositions have pressed them, gone back to the goalie, and the goalie's having to knock a blimmin' 20-yard ball to the left or right and make
Also,
sure it works?
good point on that. Man City, part of the reason Disasi had such a blinder of a performance because he had to keep sweeping and intercepting balls when they were getting close to the defense because of the way our system and the space of the midfield to the defense. It's just how many times can you keep? Yeah, go ahead.
If Jackson wasn't great at holding the ball up as well as he is, which I'll be quite honest with you, we get away with in this system sometimes because we do end up hoofing it because we're like, shit, can't give it to Caicedo, can't give it to Enzo, fucking hoof it, and try and play up the pitch. At that point, do you know what then happens once we do that? We hoof it up the pitch and we pray to the Lord that he controls the ball and that whoever's around him, Palmer, Sterling, whatever, are close enough. But guess what? The gap from the midfield to the attack is non-existent. It's massive at this point because I watch it. I watch it every time. It's so. What I'm trying to get tactically, it is so bad. It is, and he sticks to it. It's bad.
It is, and listen, to answer your question, that like most times it's hard to even say most times. I feel like there are times where it does work playing at the back, and we saw even for the first goal today that it was a good passage of play. Like I said, it was come down a lot from the right hand side, and Gusto and Palmer linking up very well. So it can work, and obviously I want us to play out the back, but there needs to be a better structure for it because we do have the players for it. And absolutely, it's not efficient enough. It's not executed well enough. And again, we're not making use of having somebody like Caicedo as the 6 who is happy to receive in those positions and play out. And you have Enzo who can receive and he's press proven. Like somebody like Palmer, great under the press as well. Somebody like Gusto has the ability to go around players, like use his pace. Because when we do create those transitions, when we do create our own counter attacks from playing out at the back, and Gusto bobbing on into space, because the left back's like pressed in to go and mark Palmer, like we're a dangerous team to deal with. But we just don't do that enough, and that's why this manager needs to go. So I can see a proper manager come in and implement these tactics.
It just doesn't work. I'm
not even sure. Not even sure what manager can fix this.
I have no confidence in
our coaches out there.
I know. I'm in despair for it. I'm in the pits of hell, bro. This is.
The truth is here. You get rid of him. Who is actually competent enough to come into this team, get the best out of what we currently have, but also make sure we don't continue to regress. That's the.
Let me just say this right. Like there's actually a lot of managers. Like there's a lot of managers that are going to be. There's going to be a lot of managers that are available in the summer, right? This is actually like there's a lot of moving pieces in the summer with terms of managers, and there's a lot of jobs that are going to be available because the Barcelona job will be available, the Bayern job will be available. If United have any sense, they're going to sack that fraud Ten Hag. He's probably the only manager in the league that's a bigger fraud than Poch. Ten Hag, my goodness, he's a fraud. So that job will probably more than likely be available too. So there's going to be a lot of jobs available, and in terms of managers that. Well, I'm getting to that, right? And in terms of managers available, more than likely there will be a Flick available, De Zerbi available, Amarim available, Tuchel available, ironically. So there's a lot of managers out there. I'm not here to say that there's anyone that I want particularly because none of them are standing out to me that are like, boom, they're a perfect fit. But let me just say what I want. What I want is not only just a coach to implement the tactics that we're looking at, right? But we also need a proper manager to like also manage the situation of this board and the fact that this is Chelsea Football Club. Because let's say Potter was as amazing a coach as he looked at Brighton and he was able to bring his tactics into us. Like he still is too naive to be Chelsea manager. He hasn't got the personality to cultivate a proper culture, a proper dressing room ethos, and like a belief in the squad to like, cool, we're those guys, we're that team, we're gonna actually go ahead and do these things. And he didn't have that aura, that personality to really command the dressing room and like be like make those big decisions. He didn't have that, and that's what we need. We need a coach. We need a coach to do that. So I'll just talk on De Zerbi, right? Not that he's my choice, but let's say tactically everything that he's doing at Brighton, he can actually implement here, and it's going to work great. Is he the guy to really like set a culture at this club and like say all the right things in the press conferences, get everything right at board level, like, and do everything right in terms of that? I don't know, because to me, he doesn't look like he's that guy in terms of the culture side of things. If he can really do that, because someone like Klopp, for instance, is amazing at doing something like that. Absolutely amazing at doing that, and that's what we need.
I agree with that. I think Klopp would actually be quite good for us with what we have currently in the moment, but it's never going to happen. But
No, I said of course. I mean, listen, if we could get Klopp, that would be great. But no, of course, it's not going to happen.
My biggest issue with it all, I don't actually know. We need to get rid of him. That's the first solution. He has to go for me. This guy, he's gonna stick to this crap. He's gonna continue sticking to this crap, and I just don't think we're gonna progress. We're gonna keep regressing with him. Even if we buy a striker, I think we're gonna still have problems. That's why I think. He doesn't get the best out of our midfield, and that's a big thing. If he's not getting the best out of our midfield, then it's an issue. But equally, he said today, which was quite funny actually. He said, "No one actually knows what my best team is." This is what he said. No one actually knows what my best team is because I've not actually had everyone available. So apparently he has it in his head. So what's he waiting for? Is that his excuse? He's just waiting for the best team to be available and everyone be fit at once, and he can then show us his football properly. Maybe he needs that Lavia in the DM role, which then allows Caicedo and Enzo to be and do whatever they need to do, which makes his system look better. I don't fucking know. But my biggest issue is that he has to wait and revert to the fact that he needs everyone fit to know what his best squad is. Thomas Tuchel didn't have that opportunity when he was here. He made work what he had and made it work. Even though it wasn't consistent, he still found a solution. And it worked. And it worked against some of the best teams in Europe for a period of time. It did, before we started regressing. He doesn't have. He always seems to just he doesn't, like we said, he just has no solutions to know how to get the best out of what he has, and that tells me he needs to go. And then you get rid of him. Who comes in, like you said, progresses and develops what we have, puts us up in the forefront again, but also gives us slow progression. I'm not talking about us going from fucking 8th to 1st. I'm talking about us going from 8th to pushing maybe 4th or saying Champions League. Do you know what I mean? Whatever. Champions League football at that point. That could be the case, depending on who we sign in the summer window and whatever. I don't know. But who has that, but also has the experience, because he has the experience. He just has the experience of not winning things and just being naive as a manager, just not being the right profile manager for me. That's the truth. He just isn't the right profile manager. So who is the right profile manager to come into these young players, get the best out of them, but play them in a system that benefits them at the same time, but also benefits him because it's what he's used to as a manager. But then also we have the solution because we go and buy a striker. But then also we have we just have some like what Kelly said, we have some sort of identity. Is that the word? Identity in the way that we play. Because at the moment we have no identity. I don't know what we're trying to do. I want an identity. And if that means that we still don't win something next season, but I see fluid identity players like Enzo playing this real good football, but we're just whatever. And we win one cup and we finish 5th next season. I'll go, well, at least there's blimmin' progression there. Do you know what I mean? We can see what we're doing as an identity. He knows what he wants to do. He might need 1 or 2 more players to get where he needs to go, and it's his first season. That's great. But with Poch, we can't sit here and actually say that in his first season, we can see the future under him. There is
no, we can't. We can't.
We've got to give him another season. He deserves another season. He's too many injuries. We've got to give him because his system's clear and evident it's going to work. No, his system's crap. Let's be serious. His system, his tactics are not good enough.
I agree.
So who comes in? Who comes in and who puts us on that pedestal? I don't have a clue. I don't actually know the answer to that. But I don't think De Zerbi is the answer. If you want my honest opinion, I think he'll get us playing patterns of play and maybe good football. I just don't know whether he has I would say mentality. I don't know what the right word is. I don't know whether he's a coach. He's just not a top coach. He hasn't got the experience that I think a Chelsea Football Club needs right now for these players, if that makes sense.
No, I hear that. I think just to add on to that, obviously we saw it a little bit with Ten Hag, where you were playing your kind of pretty-ish football with Ajax, but obviously it's a whole different beast coming to the Premier League and managing one of the biggest clubs in the world. And obviously then there's things about like talent recruitment and all these other things that come into to play a bit more when you're managing with Chelsea, because you have more funds available, there's more options available, and you're having to manage bigger egos and all these things, which obviously De Zerbi, the biggest ego he's managed in his career. I mean, good Lord, what, Lewis Dunk? Like, it's different going from that to then World Cup winners and everything with Chelsea, right? So that's a big transition that he has to make. And it's a risk, but at the same time, what gives me hope, not in a De Zerbi, but just in anybody that we go and get from here, is that it's hard to be worse than Poch. We also said it was hard to be worse than Potter, but Poch managed to somehow do that. And that's the funny thing as well. Like, we've got these guys in, and I could see beforehand. Obviously, I was optimistic with Potter. Poch less so, but I thought, listen, the team's too good to be this bad, but it's been this bad. I just feel like they made so many clear and obvious mistakes that surely managers coming in can learn from that and be like, okay, these managers aren't going to be as bad and not going to make as bad of decisions. Like, I can't see De Zerbi coming in and thinking Chilwell left wing is going to be better than playing Mudryk or Sterling left wing to start the season. Like, so things like that, I just don't see a lot of managers coming in and making those kind of mistakes. But obviously, that doesn't mean they're going to be amazing, and that doesn't mean they're going to get us back into the Champions League. It means we should be better. How much better we're going to be comes down to obviously recruitment, how much these players also develop, and again, also how good this manager is, and not just building a good football team in terms of like their patterns of play and all of these things tactically, but also how do you manage the situations around them? How do you manage this quite inexperienced board and all these other things that come with being Chelsea manager?
They can't keep getting it wrong. That's the problem. They can't. Their project, there's some Chelsea fans that have given up on it already. I haven't, because I feel that I still feel that there's time there for them, if that makes sense. There is that time, but time also needs within that time. We also need to see progression, and they need to make the right appointment based on the profile of players we have and squad. The squad that we have, in bringing in the right man for the job, and not someone that's just a yes man. I think he's a big yes man. It's just the way he looks. Yes, okay, yeah. Just sit there quiet, like part. That's what he wants. He's not got that balls. He's not that grit about him. He's not got that, like, he doesn't, and I keep saying it, reflection of the squad is based on the manager. And how, and that's why Liverpool looks so good with all the injuries they've got still. Because it's a reflection of the manager. It's the reflection of the manager. They got all these young players playing, and they're still winning games and beating Luton and beating us and whatever. The mentality is right. The mentality is not right with this manager, and it's not because we've got bad players. We've got very talented players. It's just that these players are not being played in the way that we needed them to progress and develop under this coach, because what he doesn't know his best systems. And he doesn't stick to one system. He just keeps changing it, rotating. Cole, there, you go there. Actually, Enzo, you go. Actually, come back. Yeah, no, you go over there. Yep, yeah, right. No, Jackson, you're left. Yep. He don't know what the fuck he's doing half the time. I feel like, it's you can't be consistent. You can't be too critical of the players when you're not being consistent with them. But then moan because they're inexperienced. Yeah, they're inexperienced. We've got to give them time. Yeah, we've got to give them time. But if the manager's not noticing that, oh, hang on, I've got inexperienced players here, I should just really play them in what they know right now and really develop them in that position. He doesn't do that. He'd rather just twinkle, make players play out of the position that are inexperienced and expect them to just rotate into different systems at this age, which is not the right way, in my opinion. Do you get what I mean?
No, 100%.
I feel I'm going a bit too deep with it, but do you know what I mean? Like, it really annoys me. It really gets in my head because I can see it. I can see they're inexperienced, they're young. Play them in their natural positions. Stick to it. Yeah, stick to a system that actually you might have to tweak a little bit so that it actually works for your midfield, for example. Yeah, and your fullbacks and whatever, and your forward line. By the way, everything seems to have a bit of balance. He will do it one week, and I think, okay, that looked all right that game. The week after, he'll go 2 or 3 at the back, and then we have more defenders we have more defenders on the pitch than attackers. And I'm sitting there like, what are you doing to them?
I mean, things like that are quite unforgivable, to be honest. And we've been seeing it all season. And listen, I 100% agree with you. Like, we don't ignore the fact that these players are young and maybe some of them need time, but this manager isn't young. You're not new to this league. Like, we don't need to give you time. You need to show us something. And absolutely, he can show us more. And again, I bring up someone like a De Zerbi just because, not that he's my first choice, it's just he's very defined of like how his team plays. Like, we didn't need to watch Brighton long to see like, okay, how they play is very distinct. It's also different from how they were playing on the Potter, and we get it. With Poch, we don't get it because it changes, and he hasn't got that. Like, he hasn't got that. I always say I prefer managers who are stubborn over managers who just freestyle a lot, because freestylers, it may work, you may get things to change, and you may adapt to a situation and get a win. Like, that's all well and good, but I prefer managers who have a system, a certain style of play, and like they make that work. That style of play is patterned to the nth degree, and it's so detailed, it's so structured, and like it's there, and you can tangibly see it, and you can see that it can work. And you see, okay, when it's popping off, it's great. And if it's not, okay, maybe things need to be tweaked here and there, but they have that style of play, and you know how that team's going to perform. And we saw it with Sarri when he was here. It may not have been everybody's cup of tea at times, and it certainly took a while for us to get fully going in that season, but he stuck to it, and it was yielding benefits towards the end of that season. We were playing some amazing football. And listen, with Poch, you can't say he stuck to anything. A lot of it's been chopping and changing. Yes, part of that is injuries, but in terms of just the identity of a team shouldn't change because of injuries. Because we've seen it with Liverpool. They've had plenty of injuries, and has their style of play changed? No. They just played the best team in Europe, and second half they were bullying them. They were bullying Man City with a lot of second string players in their team. So Poch, you can do way more than have us in 11th place. So
the issue with him is that he overcomplicates. I know we lose games and we blame, like the couch does. It's the players, they're not good enough, or they're not doing enough in the system, or whatever. It's just not consistent with sticking with one system. He doesn't. He's too. When you're complacent yourself as a manager and you're unsure and you don't know really what you're like, oh, actually, Enzo, rather than you being there, let's put you up there, and and then you play one way and it works and they're all happy and whatever. And the next minute he's like, well, actually, let me overthink this and play three at the back, play more defenders on the pitch to stop the. Why are you worrying about the opposition, man? Why don't you stick to what these people know instead of putting them out there, and then all of a sudden they've got to adapt to a completely different style of play again? Do you know what I mean? And then build up back, and it's just. I think I'll be quite honest with you. I think he's asking a bit too much from him, in my opinion, in terms of what he wants them to do in terms of rotations of systems. But on top of that, if you know and I said it again, if you know they're inexperienced, this is what I don't get. This is basic coaching as well, and he doesn't even see it, which annoys me, irritates me so much. He doesn't even see it when he watches games. He lets them go out there like we did Man United away, Liverpool away when we got battered, and he lets them just get hang. He doesn't realize that actually me doing overthinking the situations, caused this situation has actually made my players uncomfortable. And now Caicedo's in trouble, and Enzo can't get enough of the ball, and Jackson's non-existent, and the defense can't handle all the pressure. He would just sit there and leave it. And we've seen it how many times until we lose 2-1, and then he panics, put every attacker on the pitch, and then just hope that we win. That's not a brilliant manager. That's not a manager.
No, it's not. It's not, and that's why I like coaches. Even I don't necessarily like Arteta too much, but somebody like him, you see, anytime there's a little break in action, you can see he's trying to coach players into doing this, or they need to correct this little mistake. I like coaches who can influence the game without having to change a player or change something. You can be on your toes and you can call out things that you don't like in the game. But with us, we see things spiral out of control in games, and we don't see a manager on the touchline coaching these young players through the game. And that's 100%. What we need more of. And listen, there's a lot of managers who can do a better job than Poch has this season, next season, and can implement these things that we're talking about. Whether they're the full package remains to be seen, but whatever package they're bringing is definitely better than the shit that we've seen this season.
It just really irritates. Listen, we've been on nearly 2.5 hours. We've spent 45 minutes talking at Poch again, but it really irritates me forward. It really does. It annoys me so much that he. And it's not that we get a lot of stick, these players like Caicedo's and that are getting so much stick, and I can see, yes, their performance levels maybe ain't where they need to be to a point, but guess what? Number one, mentality rubs off against or reflects the manager that's meant to be guiding them and developing them and problem solving, which he wasn't doing. And number two, it's the way he sets us up and he's naive in just thinking that this is the way forward and we're just going to stick to it. And then the switch of systems each and every game, which it's just tiring, mate. And it's just really got me. I've never really disliked with Potter. He annoyed me. Don't get me wrong, he annoyed me with the whole hands folded and he didn't really have much, whatever. but and I know he chopped and changed as well a little bit here and there, but Poch irritates me. Like, he really gets under my skin when I look at him. And it's not even because I've got an agenda against him. I didn't want him at the beginning, but it's just because I look at him, I'm like, you're meant to be experienced, bro. Like, you're actually meant to be an experienced Premier League manager. You're meant to be what Don said, a very good developer since you was in your Southampton days and Spurs. You've got the youngest team of group of players that Chelsea Football Club have ever had in a squad. And you're doing fuck all. All you're doing is getting the best out of Conor Gallagher. And you look like you don't give two fucks. To be quite honest with you, that's what it feels like. You know? Like, so yeah, I think we should just stop there. Let's just stop there for now, guys.
No, we could go on that. We definitely could go on all night, but this has been a good return show, isn't it? There's obviously a lot to get off our chest because it's been a minute, but definitely we just got to try to keep the consistency with these shows because the people enjoy it. There's still people here watching now and listening. So
yeah, we are. We're a little bit low on the views, but again, it's an abnormal time for me. I've never been on this late before, and I think consistency again on this show is everything, and we will get there. Obviously,
listen, we can't scold a Poch for 2.5 hours about lacking consistency and then not do it ourselves, you know. So we gotta have that with the channel, man.
I'm gonna go back to like getting on, like doing transfer news and getting on some people to like push the channel out a bit more as well and get us back up, get us up and running again. And we'll keep pushing out these. Guys, we are going to keep funneling out a lot more shows now. We're as a team, we are focusing on like pushing out a lot more for you guys and match reactions, maybe little match previews and stuff and transfer news and things. So you're going to see a lot more on this channel than you have done in the last couple of months. And it is my fault because I've not been on as much, but I'm back now and I'm ready to grind and get it back to where it used to be, which was a strong 300-400 people in it. Sometimes it was crazy. So let's do it. Forward. Thank you, bro. I appreciate you coming on as always. It's been a very good discussion. Chelsea have got the W. We do have a game in hand, which was Arsenal. Obviously, we've got Leicester on the weekend, Arsenal away. But yeah, we'll see how we get on. We're not too sure. I'm not too sure if we're going to do a match preview or, again, if we can, straight into a reaction. I'll talk to, obviously, the panel about that outside of things. But we will keep you posted, guys. And I hope you enjoy your evening. It's nearly 1 a.m. Go and sleep. And I'll see you again very soon. Take care.
Sweet.